What's up, everybody, and welcome to Flagarant 2. No easy buckets, analysis by assholes, water cooler commentary for your sports needs. And this episode is brought to you by Comedy Central's Roast Battle podcast. Now, if you've seen Jeff Ross Presents Roast Battle on Comedy Central and thought those comedians were too mean, well, you ain't heard nothing yet, okay? Join Brian Moses and DJ Coach T for Roast Battle podcast as they give an in-depth look at the hit international TV series, as well as weekly live shows and interviews from the world-famous Comedy Store in Hollywood, California. You're going to hear some insensitive jokes. You're going to hear some politically incorrect jokes. But every joke you'll hear comes from a place of love. That's a lie. Listen to the Roast Battle podcast for all the behind-the-scenes action every Wednesday in your podcast feed. Now, let's start the show. I think it's very important. We got a special guest on the show, but I'm going to introduce them in a second. I'm here right now with Akaash Singh. Is Kaz here? No, of course Kaz isn't here. Why would he show up to an episode? He only shows up to TV shows now. It's very important that we acknowledge... Exactly. Yeah. It's very important that we acknowledge a major thing that happened to us. We've been doing this podcast for, I think this is a year now. Is this our 52nd episode?
A year is next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is our 51st episode. Right now we're taping this on Wednesday, Thursday, August 23rd. Alex and I next week have to go to Burning Man. We don't have to, but we are going to Burning Man. And we actually did get the tickets. We'll get into that a little bit later. Alex fucked up. But it's fine.
We're getting into
You know what?
that.
It's okay. We'll talk about it. Maybe we'll forget to talk about it. But just like you forgot about the tickets. Anyway, so, but what happened for us is we started this podcast. I called Akaash a little over a year ago.
Yep.
And I said... And we've been talking for years about potentially doing a podcast. A lot of you guys don't know this, but for a few weeks in a row, Akaash and I would just by ourselves do podcasts that wouldn't even get released.
Right.
And just to get in the mood of talking and find banter and just, see what it would be like if we ended up kind of doing it. I don't know where that audio is, maybe, but we definitely got to delete that.
Let's
Imagine a podcast that we knew nobody was going to listen to. Imagine that. That would be wild. So,
it's called talking.
But yeah, I'm going to shut his mic off. He's getting too confident talking.
Too many tweets at Alex.
I know. Man. Stop tweeting him. He's already talked 3 times. Just switch the camera angle. So we basically have these conversations. We start doing a podcast. We've been talking for years about potentially doing something together. What is it going to be? Is it a TV show? Is it a podcast? This, that, the other. And I hit Akaash up and I'm like, dude, we got to do I believe we got to do a sports podcast.
Yeah, we talked about a sports podcast for a while.
And
we needed some angle.
We needed some angle just to talk our shit.
Something to ground us.
Exactly. Sports is something obviously we're going to talk about. I thought it was a good angle, or we thought it was a good angle also because it tends to weed out the sensitive types. There's no such thing as a social justice warrior Eagles fan. Right? It's just sports are a great barrier. If I see somebody wearing...
Maybe that's why Boston is so funny. Because they're all sports fans,
now,
so
they
don't
didn't watch
give a
that
fuck.
with us, but yeah.
You'll see what they're talking about. They'll see what you're talking about.
But yeah, that's a great point. Is that you see somebody wearing a cowboy shirt, you can say certain words around them, right?
Yeah.
And they're not going to be
say certain words. All right.
A lot of them. A lot of those words. Like when a certain player might drop a pass, you might hear those words. So the point is, we're having these conversations. We say, fuck it, we're going to do a podcast. And I think it really clicked for us after we did an episode of Brilliant Idiots with Kaz.
I remember texting you because we were looking for a third.
Yep.
And I said, what about Kaz as a third?
There it is. So you put it out there. We did this podcast. We got to shout out Premium Pete because I was supposed to do an episode of Premium Pete.
Right.
That time. But Charlemagne wasn't there for the episode.
Right.
So Premium Pete didn't want to come because he wanted a big-time Charlemagne episode of Brilliant Idiots. He didn't want just a Schultz episode.
Got it. Yeah, he's sensitive.
Whoa.
He's sensitive. Yeah, I know. No, he's going to act like
I don't
it's
know
not.
what that is, but...
Premium Pete be acting mad premium. Yeah. You regular Pete to me, man. You regular ass Pete.
Love Pete.
You Peter.
I love
All right,
Pete.
Peter, relax, Peter.
I love
Pete's a good
Pete.
guy. Pete's a good guy.
So basically, Alex, you close that door. The door's open, and then that will keep you quiet for a couple seconds. So Appreciate it. So we got a shout. I love Premium Pete. Shout out to Premium Pete. Thank you so much for not coming. Because if you came, I would end up doing a podcast with you about fucking rigatoni or some shit. But now we're doing
starter jackets.
Exactly, starter jackets and rigatoni. But we ended up doing this podcast. People started to fuck with it. The army started to grow. I could feel it at the live shows. I could feel it when we're walking down the street and people chucking up the assholes, etc. And 50 weeks into our podcast run, we ended up having our own TV show on CBS Sports. Yeah. Now, we'll see what happens in the future with this. We'll see if they have a deal that we like. We'll see if, they like the terms that we want, that kind of stuff. We'll see where it goes. But the fact that in less than a year, we built a podcast from nothing and ended up turning it into a TV show and putting it on actual TV. We're not like a pilot where it's not aired, but it was on fucking TV yesterday and the assholes could all tune and watch. It's pretty fucking amazing. So Akaash, I just want to salute you, say thank you for doing this with me.
Man. Thank you for bringing us on.
Absolutely. It's about
Congrats,
time.
guys. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did some cool shit.
And last thank you to the assholes, man. The support was so crazy last night. I had tweet after tweet, message after message. I was going to respond to everybody, but it was honestly too many people to get to. So thank you so much to everybody who tuned in, people who sent us screenshots, people who tweeted at CBS Sports. The support was crazy. It was overwhelming. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
man.
and for those of you who haven't seen it, the show is called No Easy Buckets. And I want you guys to check it out when you can. We'll see when they're going to do a replay. I don't know if they can.
We're going to have some clips online.
Get some clips. Yeah, there's a couple YouTube clips of it. And, but yeah, man, thank y'all so much for fucking with us and rocking with us. And this is what happens now. The game is really flipped on its head. If you have the people, well, actually, this is what I'll say. For years, not only comedy clubs, but television networks, they basically said to, the stars of the shows, they said, hey, you have to bring an audience.
Right.
And it forced us to go out there and curate our own audiences.
Right, yeah.
And then once we did that, all of a sudden, we started to have some leverage.
Yeah.
And then networks started to go, well, why are you asking for all this stuff? And it's like, well, you made me get the people.
Now I got the people. I don't need you.
Now you need me.
Yep.
So I really hope we could work something out great over there because I'm not going to lie. I've done a lot of TV shows. And the guys we were working with were good at what they did.
And they got us.
They got us quickly, and they were good at what they did, and they edited to our sense of humor. The little pieces they put together were really fucking good, and they let us rock.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, yo, how can you be flagrant on, network talk, network TV or whatever like that? Just watch. You're gonna see.
We're going to find out. We're going to find it. Sneak it in.
Yeah. Oh, it's in there. It's definitely. Make sure you check out the whiteboard. That's another thing I'll say. That's all I'll say. But so I just want to say thank y'all so much for supporting what the fuck we do, man. This has been a very cool ride. I'm looking forward to the next step as long as Alex and I make it back alive from Burning Man. So this was a special episode. Again, we're doing this a week early or a few days early.
Yeah.
Wait,
and
when's
then
it gonna be?
It's gonna come out Tuesday.
Right.
And then the episode after that is gonna come out possibly Wednesday morning, maybe Tuesday night, because Alex and I are going to fly back from Burning Man, and then we're going to come right here and record it. So that episode will be late.
And you guys will still be high on MDMA.
No, but maybe. That might be wild.
Yo,
that's a good episode.
I need to see that.
We should come in hot.
Come in real hot.
We should come in hot.
Just have Dwayne set up the board before you get here, Alex, and then invite Mandy.
All right, so let's introduce our guests. We have a very special guest here.
Hero.
It's a hero. It's a hero. We have a whistleblower out here. I know everybody who's listened to this podcast right now has probably heard the story of one of the leaders of the Me Too movement, Asya. I know Asia Argento, basically being accused of sexually assaulting or statutorily raping a kid, a 17-year-old, when she was 37.
Whom she knew
a kid.
when
I will set you up. Okay. Whom she knew when she was 7 years old. When he was 7 years old, played his mother in different things. Very creepy situation to kind of like raise somebody that you fuck. I mean, only Woody Allen can do that. I'm basically trying to say is, Ostia, your films aren't good enough to raise the people you fuck. Okay, I haven't heard of a single film by Asia Argento. Okay,
neither are Woody Allen's, to be honest.
Say what?
Neither are Woody Allen.
Fam, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't really seen Woody Allen's joints. Like, I can't name.
The shits are boring.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you watched them?
Cuck movies.
Are they really?
This is black frame glasses. People can watch them and get bored and pretend they get it.
Oh, so it's like faux artistic shit.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Must be a cuck.
So
you like Woody Allen?
Yeah, a couple of them.
It's a lot of the white girls put you onto it, huh?
So basically, what happened is Asia Argento. I'm gonna take his mic away. I'm literally gonna take his mic away. Shut the fuck up.
I'm gonna tell you.
So, what does he say? Yo, what was the Mexican that we had in here doing his job? Eden. And Eden does all those graphics, by the way. Those nice graphics that you guys like. Eden does that shit.
Mexicans gotta stay quiet, fam. That's how they stay here.
I'm leaving him in Burning Man. Look, so, basically what happens is Asia Argento was the widow of Anthony Bourdain. Well, and she came out.
They were never married.
Or they weren't married.
No. Just a girlfriend.
Girlfriend of Anthony Bourdain, but for many years. And after his death,
2 years.
After his suicide, came out, and she really kind of, what some people believe.
Milked it?
Well, yeah, milked it. A lot of people were looking at her as like this complete victim, but one brave soul came out and tried to show how she was maybe milking it and she wasn't sincere. And maybe she wasn't even sincere about this whole Me Too movement that she was one of the leaders of. And that woman is our guest today, Leah McSweeney. And Leah bravely walked through the fire. She got tons of criticism. You got tons of hate. Women's groups were coming at you. Everybody's coming at you. And literally a few weeks later, you get your vindication.
Yeah.
How sweet is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's bittersweet.
Go on.
It's bittersweet.
What do you mean?
It's bittersweet because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
there is still a man who is dead,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And fuck all these people that came at me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a fuck about them. You know, what makes me upset is the fact that, like, this woman who was like out here with her like fucking fist up in the air, acting like this self-righteous, this martyr who is out here fighting for victims, has actually been, she's victimizing these victims all over again.
Do you feel vindicated?
I mean, I don't know if vindicated is like the right word because it's like all tragic, right? Like,
sure.
Anthony Bourdain is dead, and there's thousands of women who are. Is that my phone?
It's your phone.
Sorry. There's.
I'm going to stop the podcast. I'm going to stop it. If everybody don't shut their fucking phone, I'm going to stop it.
There's thousands of women who have actually been raped, who are actual sexual assault victims, who haven't had any justice, who haven't had a voice and haven't had an opportunity to feel any kind of justice towards their abuser, that we're looking at Asya as a voice for them.
Here's the thing. You can't ever trust a white person who puts their fist in the air on some
Word. Yeah, I feel the same fucking way.
Off jump, I'm like, who the fuck
right?
do you think you are?
That's what I'm saying.
Who the fuck do you think you are?
And she calls it a no shame fist. Like, bitch, we know you have no shame. Like, we know. Like, we know. That makes more sense now than ever. This bitch is just as bad as Harvey Weinstein.
Hold on. What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean? She's a fucking predator. She's just like him. If she could serially rape people, she would. She's a woman. She can't. She physically can't rape people.
So she has to raise them into a rape.
So she emotionally rapes them. She's mentally raping people. She's been mentally raping society. She's been lying to us about everything. She's been manipulating the media. She's been manipulating a whole generation of women into this victim-centric ideology type feminism that's fucking poisoning people.
Yeah.
She's poison. She is absolute poison. And to me, she's worse than Harvey Weinstein because...
Yeah, because at least Weinstein gives you a career.
That's what I'm saying.
What I mean?
He gives you something. He gives you something in return.
Yeah.
She doesn't give you shit. She doesn't give you anything. She's been preying on people who are already victims.
What you mean? Oh, people have been raped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she's supposed to be speaking on their behalf. She's supposed to be fighting for them. And she's been fucking lying. First of all, by her own account, her story of rape or what happened with Harvey Weinstein is not what the fuck the definition of rape is. It's not.
What happened?
she let him go down on her.
Okay.
Then, even though she didn't want to, she said she didn't want to. Then she had sex with him right afterwards.
Listen, if you don't want me to go down on you, you just gotta say it. You know what I mean?
She let him go down on her. I mean, like, and then she had a relationship with him for 5 years afterwards. Like, stop.
Here's
Come
a
on.
question.
This is the woman that these people. Why did Ronan?
5 years of a relationship with her? That's what feels like rape to me.
Yeah.
Here's my question. Somebody told me, they're like, hey, if you you go down on a girl, right, and you're eating her out, and then your nose is so big it could penetrate her, is that rape? That's what a guy said to me. He's like, your nose is so big it could penetrate her without her wanting to necessarily be penetrated. Is that rape? That's what he said. So is that rape?
I mean, but maybe she wants the nose to go inside.
But what I'm saying is, what if she didn't, but it just so happens my nose is so big and I'm going down?
What about the tongue? Isn't your tongue already in there if you're going down on her?
Ew, yucky.
Why is that yucky?
Well, you put your tongue inside it?
Hold on a second. Andrew, how have you been going down on girls?
I go down on girls.
You don't put your tongue inside the vagina?
No, I go down on girls. I just go down on them.
Oh my God, you're supposed to. You don't put your tongue inside the pussy hole?
No, I just go down and then I let them tell me about their day. I thought that's going down on a girl. I thought that's what going down is. I go down there, I put my head near your pussy, and then you talk about your day and you can't see how bored my face is. That's not going down on a woman? I thought that's how you please the women. A women.
No, that's not how you please a woman. You can't please a woman.
Oh,
it's
that's right. You
impossible.
can't.
So just do whatever.
Yeah.
You eat this bitch out, it's rape. Come on.
Yo, but that is true. It is penetrating without even trying. I have done that once by accident with my nose, just eating a girl's butt.
Of course.
Because I lifted her up and I was starting to leave the butt, and then I tried to take a breath. And then, no, that's serious. My nose.
Do you eat butt?
Do I eat butt?
Yeah.
What you talking about? What? Who in the what? What do you mean?
I know
Do
you
I
like
eat
to
butt?
get your butt eaten. But
I do be getting my butt eaten, bro. I do be getting it eaten.
My man be eating.
You want to know what happened one time?
Thanksgiving in the Schulz house.
It always says. We're the natives. You know what I'm saying? You know what happened once?
And just like the natives, you about to get fucked.
I once had a girl go down on me, and then I was just
down
feeling,
on you. That sounds
suck
weird.
my dick. How you want to say it? I was trying to be proper.
I'm just thinking of.
I'm
you're
on
right.
CBS.
No, you're right.
I'm on CBS.
I think
okay,
my head
I have to
is in a
speak different.
place.
So I was going to get my penis sucked.
Yes.
Right.
Thank
and then
you.
she's going down and she's sucking my penis, and then she pulled away for a second, and I took the pull away as she was ready to eat butt. Right, so I did what a good man is supposed to do in that situation, right? I lifted, because I feel like your upper body strength is not that good, so I lifted my leg up, right, to expose butt.
Ew.
And then she literally looked at me for a second, then gently put her hand on my knee and just pushed it back down.
I like her.
Oh man.
Do you have a hairy ass?
Of course I got a hairy ass.
That's such
Why
a
would you
professional way to
feel
reject
okay
a guy.
with,
That's
like-
such a beautiful, just.
Dude, so gentle, so calm. You know?
That's cute, but no.
Yeah, I got a hairy butt. Very hairy.
It's
How's
unreal.
a girl gonna
To eat
How
my
are we
butt?
gonna, like-
Well, it's not coming out of the
because
butthole.
yeah, you have to like they
Spread
should,
it.
like spread your butt cheeks.
Moses.
What?
Moses.
Oh, like
Do you know who that is? It's not the Puerto Rican guy I used to date. It's it's a biblical dude who
Yes.
made the sea go.
the
different,
sea, the sea parted.
Yeah.
yeah,
To reach the promised land.
Exactly. Right?
right, yeah, exactly.
That is the promised land.
saying.
Damn,
I'm
bro.
saying.
I gotta stop getting my butt ate. That shit is gross. Who does that? Anyway, okay, so back to you and this girl, Asya. This chick, Asya. So she's out here stat raping. She said she didn't fuck him. Now texts can't come out that says she did fuck
the
him.
craziest shit is that like, okay, it comes out that like a month after she starts saying Me Too and Harvey and this and that and like the New Yorker article, whatever, this kid, the guy, was like, comes to her and is like, I'm gonna release this photo of me and you, this selfie of me and you that we took, that you wanted me to take after we fucked, unless you pay me. Which that's a whole other.
No, we'll get there in a second.
Right.
But go
Okay. So when this story comes out, she doesn't give any kind of statement. The New York Times had been contacting her, trying to contact her lawyers who are total pieces of shit. To try to get a statement from her, she didn't say anything. A couple days later, after the New York Times article, she releases her own fucking little screenshot of like a typed out statement that she obviously and clearly had no one help her write, that blames everything on Anthony Bourdain. She tried to drag him back into this shit and was like, you know, Anthony really wanted just this to go away and insisted that I pay this. Now you're talking about him again. You're blaming, you're denying. She denied
having sex with him.
She denied having any kind of sexual relationship with him. Yeah. She did what all abusers and rapists do to their victims. She tried to discredit him. She tried to say he had financial problems. She tried to say that he had some career issues, you know, making him sound like he had psychological issues.
Probably did.
Whatever. And then she brings Bourdain into it.
Right.
Which was just, I mean, people, from what I read, you know, on Twitter and whatever, in comments and stuff, people were like disgusted, which finally...
Yeah.
People are disgusted.
Yeah, it seems like they're turning on her. What I thought was really interesting is that Rose McGowan, who was like her buddy, we'll get there. I thought was very interesting is the whole thing with the Me Too movement from all the leaders and most of the people involved in it and all like the radical feminist community was always believe all victims. Believe all victims.
Believe all women.
Yeah,
believe all women. Believe all women.
Okay, believe all women. Believe all victims, etc. Right? And now it comes out that Asia Argento is accused of statutorily raping somebody or sexually assaulting someone. And then all of a sudden, Rose is out there tweeting, hold your judgments. We have to wait for the facts. So when it's your homie, it's believe facts. When it's a dude you don't know, it's believe all women.
Not even a dude you don't know, a dude you can profit off of.
Here's the next step to it, right? The next step was... we have to understand that certain people are doing this for monetary gain. Basically saying the kid was just trying to make money off a sexual assault allegation. And it's like, whoa. Are you saying
Rose,
that
did you do the same thing?
Are you saying that people accuse people of rape to make money? Is that what you're now admitting? Now, when guys have been saying this for the last, 6 months that Me Too has been popping, or a year, when we've been saying, sometimes they just say it because they're coming for the bread, all of a sudden we're misogynists. All of a sudden we're a piece of shit.
Okay,
all of a sudden we're victim blaming.
Yes, I do that a lot.
We're not saying that people don't get raped. We're not saying that sexual assault doesn't happen. We're just saying it is also, two things can be true. It is also possible that they will use the idea of sexual assault to profit.
Yes. Rose also tweeted right away, I've gotten to know Ostia in the last 10 months. 10 months? You have like pictures of you and her from 2013 or whatever, and you're writing like, this is my soul sister, this, that. This fucking chick has no... I have no respect for
speaking
people.
About who now?
Rose McGowan. Okay. I have no respect. If this is your soul sister, right? Mm-hmm. You don't fucking rush to distance yourself from her.
Wait,
what kind of
when
friend
did she distance?
Are you? The second Asya came out, the second all this stuff came out about her, she was like, I've only known her 10 months. I just got to know her through the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Like, that's not what you were saying a month ago.
What I read is she said, don't reserve judgment.
Then she said that after that.
Or reserve judgment. Oh, okay. Yeah. But so she dipped out on her.
She dipped out. She totally dipped out. She was like, oh, shit. Because the only thing that Rose has going for her is the fact that she's a victim.
So that becomes her identity.
It is her identity. And it was Ozzie Argento's.
She'll gravitate towards anything that fuels it.
The issue is this. These celebrities... have a fucking skewed idea of reality. And their reality is so much different than everybody else's. And they are the ones that are speaking for everybody.
Here's the thing. I'm always wary of when an actor or anybody in front of the camera in entertainment is an activist.
Exactly what I was going to say.
It's crazy.
And the reason I'm wary of it
go ahead.
Is because I know these people. I am one. They gravitate towards positive reinforcement. They want validation.
Oh, interesting.
That's why they're in this business. They're not in this business, right? Like, Rose McGowan didn't get in this business because she really wanted to play a witch.
Right.
Right? She got into this business because she wanted to be congratulated. Oh my God, you're so beautiful. You're an amazing actress. I love you, etc. Right? So the thing that we want in this business is validation. That's why I always say I'm a comedian. I'm not trying to change the world. I'm trying to make jokes.
Yeah.
Okay. But what happens oftentimes is we gravitate towards what we get response from. And if you see an actor or an actress become this big social justice warrior, a lot of times, in my opinion, they just found a source of encouragement and validation and positive reinforcement, and they double down on it because that's what they need to feel whole, just like a junkie needs heroin to feel whole.
We all need our fix.
Yeah.
Now, your view is more nuanced than mine. Mine is a simple, broad view of this is a person who got into this business because they want to be famous. They didn't want it, like you said, they didn't want to change the world.
Right.
I became an actor because I want to be famous.
Right.
Not only does reality not matter, I will play an entirely different reality to be famous.
Right.
So I don't trust any activism you have because I don't trust that you're doing it from an activist.
Right.
Your entire purpose, your whole life has been to be famous.
Yeah, like they'll start out, doing a, acting in a series.
Yep.
And when series dries up, they're flipping homes on Home and Garden Network.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's like whatever I can do to stay in front of that
Rose
camera.
McGowan became a feminist when feminism got popping.
Exactly.
I know. She's also saying she's not a gender anymore.
Because that's popping.
Because it's
Positive
popping.
reinforcement,
Because it's
fame
popping.
in front of the
That's
camera,
it.
whatever. South Asian stuff got popping. Now everybody's proud to be. Back when it wasn't like certain comics or whatever, people were big not talking about their identity.
Yeah.
Nobody talked about it. Then it became hot to talk about your identity. Now everybody's proud to be Indian, proud to be whatever. I've been proud to be Indian when I was broke as fuck.
Yeah. I was at the Comedy Cell yesterday, and Aziz was there, right? And Aziz is back working out again.
Yeah.
And had a nice little shorty on his arm.
That's what's up.
Yep.
He deserves it.
Consensual, always. And we were at the table and we were just talking about the Crazy Rich Asian movie.
Yeah.
And he was talking about this concept I thought was really funny called woke bait, right? Woke bait, meaning like this is bait for woke people. And he said that there's a thing in the... He said that he'll do something in the audience. He'll be like, have you guys seen the movie Crazy Rich Asian? And he's like, in the audience, there's always like a white lady in the audience would be like, oh my God, amazing, right?
Yeah.
Then he goes, oh yeah, did you like it? And she's like, yeah, I loved it. Like, he's like, is it your favorite movie? She's like, yeah, it's honestly one of my favorite movies. And they're like, well, is it like your favorite? And she'll be like, it's like my favorite rom-com, definitely favorite rom-com. Right? And it's okay, it's like the best rom-com ever made in history. She'll be like, well... yeah, maybe it's the best rom-com ever made in history. What about the best movie made in history? Ooh, it's maybe not the best movie made in history. You hate Asians. Right? Right? It's like he can see, and I think this is something that I see as a white guy, but I'm sure minorities see glaringly, which is this like when white people are trying to be woke and pander.
God, so
now,
pathetic.
shout out to a lot of people that I know that are in Crazy Rich Asians. I love the concept of Crazy Rich Asians. In and of itself, Asians did it in such an Asian way. They were like, hey, you know what we're going to do? Here's this book that's popping. We're going to make a movie. No, we're not going to ask people permission to make it. We're just going to make it. Is it going to be hard? Sure. We're going to do it, and it's going to be popping. And then the movie's popping. It's just an example. It's a perfect example of what Asians have done in every country they've been to.
Exactly. And it is important for that movie to do well because I've always said, like, don't just, if I want to be an Indian, just make an Indian story, whatever, Asian story. Having said that, we don't need to pretend this was a great movie. I saw it. It's not good.
Oh, it isn't.
I supported with my dollar.
Yeah.
And if you're a minority, go ahead and support with your dollar, not just for Asian people, for your people. It will trickle down.
Right.
But it's not a good movie.
Really?
Straight up. I thought the leading dude was good looking as fuck.
Yo, son, I'm not going to lie. Every time I see a tall Asian, I'm like, that's a crazy rich Asian. I thought that was the point of the movie, is that the tall ones are rich.
They gotta be, right?
Right? Yo, I honestly be seeing these tall ass crazy rich Asians, bro. I'm like, I'm on to you. You know what I mean? I'm fucking on to you.
I know, I just didn't. The acting
Maybe the
wasn't
book
great.
is better. Maybe.
You know what?
Read it, but-
My girl read the book, really excited about it, and was like, I'm trying. But
Let me ask you a question about, just because you know how like when you read a book, the movie's always disappointing because you envision all these characters, right?
Yeah.
You see what they look like. But with this movie, like they all look the same anyway. So is there anything? Little Asian joke, guys, to get the thing going? I'm not gonna lie. Shouts to my boy Ronny Chang, comedian, hilarious comedian on the.
He was funny in it.
Yo, he's, first of all, that motherfucker is brilliant.
No, I believe
He
that.
said some
funny.
shit about alt comedy
What'd he say?
We'll get back to it. This guy's brilliant.
Well, he's Asian, so
He is fucking brilliant. This dude. He goes. He was talking about alt comedy, and you know how like alt comedy, for anybody who's listening, there's this type of comedy, alt comedy, and what it's essentially doing is making fun of comedy.
Right.
Right. And he goes, "That's cool. You can make fun of comedy, but you have to understand, without us, you don't have anything.
It's dope.
You need
That's
us
dope.
to make fun of."
Yeah.
And he goes, traditional comedians like us, we make fun of institutions.
Right.
Sometimes comedy becomes an institution, and you are making fun of that. But don't get it twisted. Your shit can't live without us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Ain't no sandwich without the bread.
Right.
Right? So I thought it was just such a great way of like observing,
Yeah.
you know, anyway, but go on.
No, it wasn't. I thought the lead actress was super cute.
Right.
I didn't think she was a great actress. I'm not the best judge. Maybe I'm a fucking idiot.
Right.
But I didn't find the story engaging. I didn't find it super funny. There were moments, but like for the most part, I'm watching. My girl passed the fuck out. I'm talking about laid down in my lap, put up the armrest, went to fucking sleep on the movie,
in the
bro.
theater.
And
That's-
she a liberal, like, she's not phony with hers, but she's like, this is a movie you would think appeals to her.
Right.
But she was like, I'm not even going to pretend I like this. I'm just going to sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
Too
Why?
long.
I won't be
It was
singing
too long.
Too long.
Really?
Yeah.
How long?
Had to be at least 2 hours.
Oh,
If you're a
God.
minority,
Oh, you
go
said
see
too
it.
long. I thought you were saying the name of a character.
That was good. That was good. Yo, Leah got a black dude
We out
laugh.
here,
Yo,
bro.
look at Leah got the...
Yeah, dude. We've been around some brothers, yo.
I bet she has.
Wait, is that a black laugh?
Black guy.
It's a black guy laugh.
Right there.
But that's how I laugh.
Hit him with
Akaash
the
got a
stat.
great bit about it where he says not every black dude laughs with it, but like this, but 1 out of 5 do.
Yeah.
It's just
Wow, that's so
hit
crazy
you
because
with
I
the
do
static.
it so much. I've been doing it a lot lately.
Who you been fucking?
Oh shit.
Who you been doing
Very
lately?
white.
A
very
50-year-old white man.
Is he 50?
50-year-old white man. Yeah.
He's not 50 yet.
Oh, he's almost 47-year-old white man. But I like this for her.
All right, but don't say
She's
too
in love.
much because.
I'm not gonna say anything.
All right, I don't
You
want to
just
talk
said
about
she's
it.
in love.
Well, besides
I
the
am.
love thing,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
she hasn't said it to him yet. Can you say it on the podcast? Say it. Say it. Say it on the podcast. Say it. Hold on. Say it on the
I'm
podcast.
not saying
Just say.
anything.
Be
No, I'm
vulnerable.
not.
Just say. I love you, babe.
No, why are you
What?
making me do it?
I
Let
love
me-
my girlfriend. I love you, boo.
I'm
Gay. Jesus, Akaash, that was gay, bro.
Buddy, I'm gay.
What are you doing there, you
talking
dare?
about?
Whoa.
I'm gay, fam.
Alex, that was so gay.
That's why I'm over here, man.
Bro,
Alex, you can get fucked straight up. All right?
I know.
Stay over there.
I know.
yo,
I know.
you're a crazy gay Asian right here, bro. That's the sequel, Crazy Gay Asian.
Oh my god.
Damn, son. Oh my God, why are my seeds from?
You know what?
Dude.
You know what? People won't stop calling me homophobic for saying
what?
that guys on Raya looked gay.
Well, is there a gay look?
I just meant they were more accessorized than.
Yo, let me ask you this question. Can a guy look like a douche?
Yeah.
Of
A
course.
fuckboy, right?
Yeah.
So if we label the traditional stereotypical way a guy can dress, why can't we do that with if we do it with straight guys, why can't we do that with gay dudes?
That's what I figure. I mean, that's what I think. But
You can
know.
literally
Matter
find...
of fact, you're not saying there's anything wrong with it. If people take offense to that, that means they have a negative view of gays.
Yeah.
Like if I say you look, like a queen. Queen is a bad one. Give me an example. You look bougie. Bougie. No, if I say you look bougie.
I laugh black.
No, now you got your white laugh back.
Right.
But what I'm saying is if I say you look bougie and then someone takes offense on that, they're basically implying that there's something wrong with being bougie. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with saying somebody looks gay.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Not
look,
talking
it's
into
you
the
know,
microphone.
no.
This microphone could not be easier to talk into. It moves wherever you want to put it.
Okay.
You're
It's just
moving away
once-
from it.
Listen, once this penthouse stuff came up, right?
Yeah.
People tried to dredge things up about me.
Try
right?
to find negative things about you.
Yes, and there were like 2 articles, and
The one with Michael Che, where you were talking that shit
I called him an asshole. I
for
didn't say
not
anything.
giving you attention. That was
Right.
wrong. You were wrong
Hold
about
on.
that one. Yes.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with me being a white woman calling a black dude an asshole. Doesn't make me racist, does it?
Of course not. You're allowed to call
Right.
black dudes
That's what I
assholes.
figured.
You walk down
Okay.
the streets of New York.
So,
What laugh was
but
that?
because I don't know, but now I'm all fucking.
Like a French person. Okay.
Now I'm all self-conscious about my laughs.
Okay, good.
Whatever. Anyway, people have been using that to try to discredit anything I say.
Okay, I think what we basically want you to tell us is who are the other lady rapists out there?
Lady rapists?
Yeah.
I don't know who the other lady rapists are.
Don't know any.
No, I don't know off the top of my head, but what I will say is that all of the women that have been, I'll tell you who the enablers are.
Ooh.
Okay. There have been women that have been enabling Asya and that are also at the same time claiming Me Too and turning Me Too into an issue that only has to do with Harvey Weinstein, and that's it. And those women are just as bad as abusers to me. Because if you have a different idea, well, I'm going to just talk about me. Since I had a different idea, since I had an idea or an opinion that questioned their claims, these are the women that tried to fucking bring all this stuff up about me.
They tried to silence you, right?
Yes.
Which is exactly what...
They're like, you're a misogynist, you're a racist,
Right.
you know, tried to ruin Michael Che's life. I didn't try to fucking ruin his life. Right. I just was like talking out my ass.
That's the exact behavior of what rapists do to
Also,
victims.
people, like,
Yes.
people don't...
Important point.
Wait,
Yeah.
say it again?
It's the exact same behavior that rapists do to victims.
Yes,
right?
of course.
They try to discredit them. They try to silence them. You know, you want to talk about how your boss did something uncomfortable to you. Your boss goes, well, if you do that, you're going to have to leave the company. Blah, blah, blah. Be quiet. And that's what they're essentially doing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now the truth is out.
But now the truth is out.
Now
So
the
you've been
truth is out,
vindicated.
and now Asya cannot manipulate the public anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think,
You think
that
she's out of here?
I still want to know. There's a lot of unanswered questions about
You
Bourdain's.
got some Bourdain shit that you're not going to share that you're not sharing, but you should share it. You got some good Bourdain.
That was my question, actually. Is how
Leah
you're
got
pretty
some good
public,
Bourdain shit.
right?
yo.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was thinking. You're pretty public. You're pretty out there. If I'm Anthony Bourdain's family, especially after she tried to blame her rape on my dead family member, I would be like, "Fuck this bitch. Anything I know about her, I'm going to take to whoever is the foremost person dragging her, and that's you."
Yeah, well, I think that you know, when they decide to
So you're
speak
respecting the
publicly,
family.
Listen, I think when they decide to speak publicly, they're going to go to a huge, you know,
Publication. Bigger than Leah McSweeney.
But yeah, yes, bigger than Penthouse.
I think you should tell us some shit. I think you got some good Bourdain shit, and I think you should tell us.
Drop a little something on us.
I think you should.
It's more about, you know, Asya. There's a lot of stuff about
Of course.
Asya. Yeah.
All right, so drop some something.
I mean, look,
drop something that's not out there.
Let's just put it this way: the $380,000 that he lent
Bourdain?
her or whatever. Yes, that Bourdain.
That Bourdain paid the 17-year-old for Asya.
That's just the beginning. That's only the beginning. She was tricking on him so hard. She was straight tricking on
Define
him.
that.
She is a hoe.
Define that for people who don't know what tricking on means.
She was basically just fucking getting money from him and by fucking him. She was acting like a hooker
Really?
and manipulating him
To give him the money.
to give her the money.
give her the money.
Yes,
Okay.
to pay for all her shit.
Really?
Pay for everything.
And
Her
you have
fucking
this on good
house,
authority.
Her house. This is. Yes, it's totally not arguable. This stuff. Yeah, and from, you know, who it came from and everything.
And
completely.
you don't think she ever cared about Bourdain?
No.
Really?
Absolutely
She was just
not.
using him as a bank account.
She's 100% was using him as a bank account. She completely emotionally, mentally fucking hijacked this guy who was already broken, already dealing with depression issues, whatever. And he was, you know what? He was also a really generous kind of dude. He was
Yeah.
like a mensch, right? Like he's wanted to help people. He wasn't greedy. He wasn't about his money.
Yeah.
He was just doing what he loved to do, what he was
Yeah.
passionate about, and happened to make money from doing it.
Right.
And this chick, I don't know.
Sucked
To
him
me,
dry.
she looks like she's a nasty ass pussy. But whatever she was doing with him, some shit worked. I don't know what was going on because she had him wrapped around her pinky.
Can you tell what a girl's pussy looks like from her face?
I can.
Really?
Yeah. For not just from her face, but from her whole
How?
everything.
Okay, give me an example. How? Like, what are the telltale signs of pussy?
It's not like, it's more like an intuition thing. I have good intuition.
So you can look
Like
at a
you
girl's
tell, like,
pussy.
lip
I
size.
can tell her that hers does not smell good.
You can tell if a girl's pussy smells.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Can you
should
tell?
start a service.
Yeah.
can't just take me on your next date, your first date with someone.
you could make millions.
Can you tell what girl's pussy, like the lips look like, the structure? Can you tell?
I can tell if it's fucking, yes, if it's fat, if it's fucking saggy.
Are you kidding?
No.
I can bring up girls on Instagram right now. You can tell me if their pussies are fat, small.
I'm gifted.
For the listeners at home,
I'm gifted.
let's look up popular Insta hosts, and then you look at a few pictures, so that way, because if we just pull up pictures on Andrew's phone, they don't know what these bitches look like. They don't know who they are.
You know what? I think you're making a great fucking point.
Yo Ventura, you know Yo Ventura? What's an Insta hoe you know?
I don't know.
You know an Insta bitch.
An Insta bitch? Off the top of my head, I don't know their names. I don't really follow any. I don't.
Oh, my bitch is on point. Well, Betty White. What's Betty White pussy look like?
What, the old actress?
Yeah. I almost felt disrespectful saying it. I Betty White a queen. I felt disrespectful, but it was so funny to ask.
That was too much.
It's so
shit
funny
was
to
a little
ask.
crazy, bro. Betty White's pussy looked like an elephant ear.
But let me get back. There's a lot of things that are unanswered. Hold on. There's a lot of things that are unanswered about Bourdain,
what's
right?
women's pussies look like?
I want to know.
No, for
I
real, you
want
gotta
to know
tell us
what
what they look
I
like.
want to know what was going on the last week between him and her. There's a lot of stuff. There's just a lot of stuff.
Are you gonna drop dime on it? You gonna give a little something?
There's things I really don't know, and you know, so.
I get you got to respect Bourdain's family, but have they said to you don't say this to anybody?
No, I don't. I haven't. That's not. Yeah.
You haven't spoken with them at all.
No.
I'd reach out if I was Bourdain's family. This bitch out here saying my motherfucking husband is the reason you're a rapist, bitch. You crazy.
Well, she wasn't saying that that's why she's a rapist.
Whatever. You rape somebody, don't bring up my husband.
Well, right.
Has your pussy
husband,
changed
son,
since you had a
whatever
child?
So I think that
it's more caring now.
it's better.
It's warmer.
It's like it's just
It's more inviting.
It's
No.
MILF pussy.
No,
It's just.
no. I'm not asking you that.
Does it
I'm
look
asking
different?
you if there's been some sort of renovation.
No. You just looked at me so weird though. You just looked at my crotch.
I did?
Yeah,
Yeah, you were like,
did.
renovation,
You for sure
and then
did.
you were all just like-
Yo, straight up, you did, for sure. I peeped.
Damn, I wish I got that.
Is that
under
wrong?
closer.
Sure.
I feel really uncomfortable right now.
One shot.
Is that wrong to
Got
do?
that one shot. Oh,
No.
boy.
I wonder if that's wrong to look at somebody.
I look at bulges all the time.
Yeah, I know
Wait,
that
Andrew,
about you.
pull up an Insta bitch real quick.
I don't follow
please.
any women on Instagram. That's
Alex,
very-
you follow some hoes on Instagram?
Except me.
That's
gay.
the biggest lie.
That's dude. That's gay. Hold
That's
on.
why you should do
Here
it.
we go. I got one for you. Weezy. All right.
Why?
All right. What about what is Weezy?
It tastes good.
Wow! Shouts to you, Weezy,
Oh, yeah.
from Horrible Decisions. Now, what do the lips look like?
I could tell you.
Firm.
That was a joke. That was a joke, Weezy.
Are you really trying to get yourself?
That was a
fucked
joke.
up,
I know.
son?
That was
Take his mic, yo.
She's
Take
got
his mic.
She's got a good, tight, juicy pussy, and she gets really wet.
You can tell that just from this one picture of her
that's
dog.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Let me know if
crazy.
I'm right.
Yo, Weezy.
DM me.
Yo, this is crazy, dude.
You know, so recently the Horrible Decisions girls, who their fucking Instagram is so great that it's fucking amazing. What?
What's Weezy's? I'm trying to call Weezy. Can you call Weezy and then give me the phone?
I'm not doing that.
Give me the fucking phone, dude.
Yeah.
They
can confirm
recently put
after.
up.
Yo, listeners, if you're
The
upset
people
or
who
not,
follow their I will leave comments sometimes on their Instagram, and the people who follow their Instagram hate me so much. Like they're always picking
it's
on me, like no
called
matter what I say.
speaker.
Aren't
That's
you the
pretty white.
girl that da 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 da? Like, yeah.
yo,
probably,
listeners at home, if you're mad when I'm talking about sports, it's because Cass is late.
Yo, that's right.
Cass supposed to be here at 7.
Yo, son, it's Schulz.
You're
Yo,
live on the podcast.
You're live on the podcast right now. Okay, we got a pussy whisperer on the podcast. Okay, literally a pussy What does she look like? It's a girl. Okay. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's.
I was sleeping.
Listen. Nobody give a fuck.
We
all
need
right?
to know
Listen, what we did is we asked the pussy whisperer. She says she can tell what a girl's pussy looks like, how it smells, and how juicy it is just from looking at a girl. I showed her one picture of you. One picture of you. Okay?
Okay.
And what she
She
says,
sounds nervous.
she said that your pussy looks like when a hippopotamus.
Stop.
No, I'm just joking. She
Stop.
said your shit looked tight, juicy, and smells good.
What did I exactly say though?
Out of my pH balance. That's like the number one.
I can tell that your pH.
For the first time, 'cause I'm like, look, it's like water.
Yeah, I can
She
tell her
said she
pH
said
is
I
good.
can tell that your pH is good just from looking at a picture. I showed her the picture of you on Instagram where the bottom of your titties
Are her
is showing.
lips firm?
What do you tell us?
Well, no,
You know the one I'm talking about?
I think that she gets.
Hold on. So, okay. So the next question is: are your lips firm?
What do you think?
Because I think yes.
I can tell you what my vulva looks like. I just took a picture of it right before I went to sleep.
Hold on. What's a vulva?
Shade.
That's the Swedish car, dog.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what with the lips.
Wait, vulva is the lips? You got two vulvas or one?
I'm just, like, look.
I thought
I'll
those are.
describe my vagina for you. Like I told you earlier, it's a little tucked in-ish. It's like I have a medium-sized clit, but you can't really see it unless I spread my lips. It's not that big. And yes, they are thin. And yeah, who is this girl?
Do you know Leah McSweeney?
Yo, like, has someone sent you a picture of my pussy, man? Because it wasn't Alex.
Good.
Okay, Weez. Bye, baby.
Good. She has a good sense of humor.
She's awesome.
Bye.
Hello?
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Okay.
She's great.
Shout out to them. They're coming on. They're actually going to have a therapy episode, I think, right? That's today?
Right after.
Right after this. Right after we...
Will I get to meet them?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly. You could
So
check a look at a
recently they
pussy.
put on a rape culture pyramid on the Instagram, and I wrote "rape culture is a myth," and
Yeah.
then people just went nuts.
They went crazy.
They went crazy.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
went
yeah.
crazy, but
Believe
that's
no
because people
victims.
don't understand
Believe no victims.
what we don't. Well, we don't, but we don't live in a rape
That's the
culture.
rapist pyramid.
We don't live in a rape culture. That's just another myth that has been pushed by the new wave of feminism to make women into victims and make all men predators.
What do you mean by that? We don't live in a rape culture.
I don't know what
Elaborate.
rape culture is. I also didn't know pussy's pH was very important. So
Oh, I'm
absolutely.
about to.
Is it
I'm
like
about to
water,
make some
where you want it to
pussy
be mad
pills.
alkaline?
I'm about
Hold on,
to make
hold on,
vagina
hold on.
pills.
When you said pH, I thought you would like when you were like, are the lips fat? I thought it was like
No.
PHAT. Like, wait, hold on. What do you
That
mean
with a
pH?
pH.
Yo, yeah.
pH balance.
Yeah.
You want it to be alkaline
important.
like water is healthier that
Yeah,
way?
exactly. Like that's what makes it. If your pH balance is off, it can smell like you get BV and your shit like smells bad.
What's BV?
BV.
Bacterial vaginosis.
Whoa.
Yes.
Bacterial
Vaginosis.
vaginosis.
Yeah.
Yo, you guys don't know
Vagimosis.
about this?
Bacterial vaginosis,
when the
bro.
C parts.
Wait a minute, for real, BV is a big thing?
It's a thing that women deal with. Yeah.
You've had some beaver?
I've had it in the past for sure.
And?
I got rid of it, thank God.
But what, bad
So
dick
what
gave
do
it to you?
What do you do for it?
Well, there's medication, of course, but I think it has a lot to do with like diet. It has a lot to do with
That water that
for
Andrew
me,
be drinking?
It can do with the weather, things like that.
The weather?
And then also, if your chemistry isn't mixing
Yeah.
right with the dude,
Yo, I
That
heard
shit
this.
is
A
gonna
girl
be
told
itchy
me
and
this shit.
nasty.
She said that if a girl has bad chemistry with a dude, if a girl should not be with a dude, sometimes not only will she not get pregnant by him, her pussy will stink.
yeah, absolutely. Listen, when me and my ex of 7 years broke up,
Mm-hmm.
the first guy that I started having sex with, which was the first person besides this dude that I'd had sex with in 6 years,
Right.
my vagina was on fire.
Really?
Fire. And I didn't have any kind of STD or anything. It was just the chemistry. It was just that new dick energy.
The new dick
new
energy.
dick chemistry and energy and whatever it was. It just was off. Like I was like, yeah, I can't fuck you anymore.
Let me ask you this question. Do you believe in this big dick energy
Yes.
concept? Really?
Big time.
Has there ever been a person with big dick energy and
That
little
did not.
dick?
Yes, of course.
And how does that feel?
Disappointing.
Do you feel
I feel like I've been lied to.
assaulted?
Takes a lot to make me feel assaulted.
So can I say this?
That's good to know.
So the feeling you feel when someone has big dick energy and not a big dick, that's how men feel when women take their makeup off.
Whoa.
Wow.
It's a criminal offense.
Wow.
Or the Instagram catfish.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, I don't really like. Yeah, I mean, the makeup can trick people.
The makeup can trick, but you're not a big makeup girl.
I'm not
you
a
don't
big
wear a
makeup
lot
person,
of makeup.
no, and especially on a first date or especially like just on a date in general, I'm just not gonna wear a lot. Only if I'm being filmed for something or something like that.
Do you believe?
I want someone to know what the fuck I look like.
Yes, no shit.
Right?
Do you believe in plastic surgery?
What do you mean believe in it? I don't like disavow it. Yeah, sure.
Would you ever get plastic surgery?
I don't know.
What would you potentially get?
Nothing yet. Maybe when my boobs start to not really look good, then I would be down for a boob job, maybe. But it does scare me, the thought of getting put under and just for vanity's sake, I also have this Catholic guilt shit, like, be happy with what you have, so, and I'm okay with myself.
You know how when you buy a home, it's a major investment.
Yeah.
So they look into your back history to see not only how you're doing with money now, but how you have done you have done with money.
Of course.
Right? They look everything into your past because they want to see what your future is going to be like. Right? Why is it when we decide to have children with somebody, we don't look to see who they are before plastic surgery?
Why don't we look into who they are before everything?
So that we could see
what the kid's going to look like?
Do you think that there should be like some sort of mandatory?
Well, I mean, aren't you going to look at like old photos of your lover?
But sometimes like girls know that girls have plastic surgery or like they have fake hair. Like I just found out that like a lot of black chicks got fake hair.
Like, how you just find that out?
Right? Yeah.
You've been on Twitter in the last 8
and I only dated black women for a long time, but I don't know.
So you never touched their head?
I know better than that. You out here touching black girls' hair. What are you crazy? You do date these white bitches. You out here touching black girls' hair. Fuck out of here, bro. But for real, I noticed that. So maybe we just don't pick up on these things like you do. You could probably look at a girl immediately.
Oh, I can tell what she's had done.
In a second.
She can tell a lot about a woman just by looking.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You a bitch whisperer.
You are a girl whisperer.
I did know Ostia was a total piece of shit, and everyone thought she was amazing. Really? Which to me seems like common sense, but I just...
Oh, shit, well, I fell.
I think maybe I've dealt with a lot of shitty people, so I can spot them, like, pretty easy.
Actors are usually garbage.
I wouldn't even really call her an actor, but yeah.
Now, aspiring actors are worse than successful actors.
That is the worst, right? Because she hasn't even made it at all.
Absolutely.
And they'll do anything to get on at that point. At this point, how old is she?
She, made out... First of all, there's, photos of her, she was, making out with a dog in a fucking movie. And there's also pictures of her, 8 months pregnant, naked, smoking cigarettes. She's... and I love vulgarity. I'm all for it.
Nah,
but that's just disgusting.
Pregnant smoking is garbage.
She is fucking nasty. Yeah. She's nasty, and honestly, shame on everyone that allowed her to climb up to the top of this fucking and fuck all the. Oh my god, I get so crazy.
I know you
fuck
get really worked up.
Fuck everyone.
Good.
That has just let her come in and and just hijack this shit.
This idea that you can't victim blame, you can't shame. You can really empower victimhood, and that's how you ascend socially.
Even these people who are writing op-eds
now.
Point.
Yeah.
These women who are writing op-eds are I don't know, I feel kind of bad, being mad at her, she's a victim of Harvey Weinstein. A victim. She got to use his private jet for 5 years. He paid for her fucking nanny.
If we want to do that, if you go back to a lot of rapists and child molesters, whatever sexual history, to their childhood, they probably had some horrendous shit happen to them. It does not excuse what they became.
What if Harvey Weinstein?
I think
Harvey
a
Weinstein.
good example of that is
Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know.
Jeffrey Dahmer or Charles Manson, right? It's
listen, what about
Charles Manson's mom sold him.
Not only sold him, he got raped repeatedly. He was molested a bunch.
Right.
A lot of fucked up shit happened to him as a kid.
It humanizes him,
but it doesn't
exonerate him
from
and
the
also
fuck
these
shit
women are now you know what? Alyssa Milano says victims can then turn around and victimize others. Okay, Alyssa Milano. What if Harvey Weinstein was molested as a kid? Are you going to say the same thing about him? I don't think so.
That's a good point.
I mean, now if we start using that logic, we're just going to let everybody fucking do everything. Oh, well, they something bad happened to them,
and that's why it's
okay.
And that's why victimhood gets rewarded, because we've completely force-fielded it with anything I can do. Well, understand what he was so public with his victimhood. We have that first and foremost in our mind. And then if you say some shit, and this is why I think you were so brave for always speaking out against whatever her name is, Argento, then you are victim blaming.
Oh, yeah.
You're not allowed to... victim blame automatically makes you nuclear.
There's a social cost.
Right.
There's a social cost to doing what you did, and most people aren't willing to pay it.
There's a social cost to
I
honesty.
couldn't even
There's
sleep
a
at
social
night.
cost to honesty, and most people aren't willing to pay it. And you know what I've realized is a lot of this is driven by the stock market. And it didn't hit me until I was having a conversation with the guys, and I'll bring one of them in right now in a second. My boy Abdi is here. But companies, since they're public, are concerned about share price. Because now once you're a public company, you have a responsibility to the people who own pieces of that company, right? You know what affects share price? Not the actual numbers, perception. So if a story gets leaked that Boeing jets actually don't fly that well, guess whose stock price dips? Boeing jets. Now, it could be a completely fake story. It could have nothing to back it up, no information. It could be an accusation, but that accusation affects the stock price. That's why companies cut ties with people who have accusations, because they're worried about the stock price. Disney fires James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Because of the pedophile jokes and all this kind of shit like that. Now, it is Disney. I totally understand there's things going on here. But they don't fire him because they're taking a moral high ground.
Oh, no, of course
They fire him because they have stock option. They have stock owners, whatever it is, shareholders to answer to. And if that Disney price dips 5%, motherfuckers are heated.
Of course. Yeah,
So-
it's all about monetary stuff. Yeah, of
Right,
course.
but
No
now,
one really gives a shit.
but now we're living in an age. Think about this. We're living in an age where Twitter,
Yes.
people who can't even own stock,
Yes.
the poorest of the poor, who are on Twitter because that's all they have.
They have no jobs. They're
No
just on
jobs,
Twitter all
nothing.
day, all night.
Literally, Nicki Minaj fans, barbs,
Totally.
right, are out here affecting the stock market. We had these barbs back in the day when I said that Nicki was kind of in a word that rhymes with what? In a word,
Runt?
runty. I didn't say runty.
Oh, you said she's runty?
I said a word that rhymes with runty, right?
She can.
I
isn't
said
that part
I didn't
of her
say
MO?
she is.
I thought
there's
that's like
in
her
songs
thing,
she refers
though.
to herself. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They started tweeting at our advertisers, and we never spoke about this. We had advertisers leave the show. Brilliant idiots lost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because they did it because they were just tweeting at them. And you know why they left the show? Because they were worried about perception. They went into my old tweets. They brought up all my old tweets, etc. Worried about perception. So right now, people are so obsessed with perception because the stock price is tied into it.
Yes.
You remove private companies, don't give a fuck. Private companies do whatever the fuck they want to do. They don't care about perception as long as the numbers are good.
I agree with the idea. I am unsure if I would like examples, and not to be a
Disney.
dick, but private companies, they don't give a fuck. Because my perception is companies constantly are like, yo, we can't have this. Let's back the fuck out of this guy.
Yeah.
The one example I can think of, to your point, Netflix isn't public. No, Netflix is publicly traded. They sit behind Aziz.
What about Uber?
Uber's publicly traded, I think. No, I don't know.
Netflix sees that the Aziz story was he was a casualty of the Me Too movement.
He's the tipping point.
He really was.
Really, really kind of. That was the first
That's the
story
most woke
that came
thing
out.
he ever did.
But listen, there was a whole group of women. It was split into two. It was like half the women were like, "This is wrong. It's right. Yes, he should be held accountable because he was this and that."
Split by age.
It's insane. It was totally. It was
20-year-old women were like, "This is totally fine." 20-year-old women were like, "Oh my god, this is."
I mean, these women, these 20-year-old women that have no idea how to deal with real life. I'm worried for them.
Yeah.
I am so worried for them because they are so clueless on how sex works.
Yeah.
And they are so clueless about the reality of sexuality.
Right.
That they're not prepared.
There's a lot of gray area in sex, and people don't want to admit that. I think that's the problem, is that we're trying to turn sex into a math equation. And
Oh my
just
God,
frankly
it's so
not.
crazy.
The whole term seduction is playing with the gray area. If sex was a black and white thing, seduction wouldn't exist. I want to have sex with you, I don't. It's done.
Yeah.
Fine if you want to say that's playing with the gray area is rape,
seducing.
but then throw out the whole term seduction or call seduction rape, straight up.
I want to bring a friend of mine in. Abdi, why don't you come in here? I've known him for a little bit of a while. I can't even speak right now. If you guys can hear a faint beat in the background, there's some people next door that are making music, and I've asked them to turn down the volume once, and they obliged, and then they turned it back up and bravely locked the door, so I can't open their door to get in to tell them to turn it back down again. But anyway, here we are. So I got my boy in. We were talking about victims. Abdi.
Yep.
you have every reason to consider yourself a victim.
No, yeah, I mean,
every reason.
Definitely.
Backstory: Somalian.
That's what I was gonna guess. Somaliland.
Somali from Somalia. Somaliland probably is like, back in the colonial books, but yeah, Somali and
Refugee.
Refugee. I mean, obviously, if people know the story, Black Hawk Down, a lot of the different things there.
That was Somalia?
That was Somalia. It's Black Hawk Down, yeah.
Y'all took down a Black Hawk?
Yeah, dude, that was like 2 weeks before I was born. Like, we took down a Black Hawk. I think,
and then we let you into Minnesota.
Yeah, stealth.
Minnesota got mad refugees.
What is refugee meaning? You escaped? Like what happened?
Yeah,
How does that...
the situation. So the story or the situation in Somalia in that time, there was a issue between two clans. Right, it's kind of very similar to, in a way, very very different, but very similar to the situation in like Rwanda, where there was the
Tutsis and the Hutus.
Yeah, the Hutus. Yeah, the Tutsis. One that was in power, the Tutsis, I believe, and then the Hutus. Then once they kind of gained arm and power, pretty much like exerted all their angst and anger at the other tribe.
The English system is kind of brilliant. Yeah. What they would do is they'd put a minority group in power so that they would remain loyal to the English.
Yep.
Right. So if 10% of the country was Hutu or Tutsi, I forget which one it was, the English would go, all right, y'all are in power.
Yep.
And then the majority would be like, yo, what the fuck? And then the minority would say, okay, well, we're going to be loyal to you English, whatever you say, because if we're not, then we're dead. Yep. And basically, I think England backed out and they just went ham.
Yeah, and the Belgian and for Rwanda. But yeah, so in Somalia, it's like it was the Hawiye who were the ones kind of like ethnically cleansing the Daro tribe, and then there's like also sub tribes within that.
There was a what's it called, a Holocaust going on?
It was pretty much what they called. There was a professor who came to my school, and she had a book called Clan Cleansing. She came up with that term. She coined it just to say this was all out an extermination of the other clan, right? So it's not really like a genocide because it was such on a smaller scale, but it was much more proportionally. It was like higher, right? Like the killing and the cleansing.
Percentage of your clan that died was higher than the percentage of Jews that died in the Holocaust, you're saying?
No, I wouldn't put it in those terms, but the idea of it was like you're trying to wipe out a specific clan, right? Like a specific group of people. If we were trying to get rid of all the Ojibwe, right, rather than Native Americans, that's different. There'd be that'd be more of
the
a
Iroquois going up against the Cherokee or some shit. Okay, gotcha.
So basically at that situation, folks in my larger tribe were given asylum all around the world, and we basically came here. I was 45 days old, 2 months or so.
Wow.
And I hear a lot of stories from my mom, especially with my political activism, and doing, some of the stuff that I do. She's just just be happy that you're alive, just chill back, and the situation that they went through. But yeah, to answer your question,
so you could be a victim.
I could be a victim.
You could completely line yourselves up to the, and you have every reason to say so. You
have a lot of,
born into this
blame a lot of people.
Up situation, right? Then you come to America. Not only you a black dude, also a Muslim dude, right? Double whammy.
Yep.
Living in Minnesota.
My man looked like he could build a clock.
Yeah.
They build clocks
from
over
Texas.
there?
Yeah.
Clock boy.
Clock boy.
Oh,
hey man,
shit.
yo, Clock boy, shout out to Clock boy because he's
struggle
fucking
pimp, dog.
Yeah, big time. I called that out dumb early.
You did.
He did a shit about it.
Bro, they said the clock that he put together was just he pretty much use a screwdriver, open up another one, and
there was no engineer, fam. There's no
He's
genius.
a dummy.
Yeah.
I remember arguing with Andrew when he was like, "Yo, that's this kid." Blah blah blah. I was like, "Fam, it's a fucking child." Blah blah. And we're going. I'm getting heated back and forth. Then Andrew sends me a picture of the clock, and he goes, "Tell me this don't look like a bomb." And I was like, "Hey, you got that."
Yeah. No, and it was crazy. Is I think, and I'm not trying to knock this Muslim family or anything like that.
No, I'm not that father. That father was about the fucking spotlight.
It was the money and suing and people try to get their.
He's the Asia Argento of clocks.
Of
I
clock
have no idea
sons.
you guys are saying.
You know what I mean? Straight up.
There was a kid who went to school with just for anybody listening, and also Leah, because you only read about sexual assault stories apparently.
Right.
This kid went to school and he basically had what looked like a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a science experiment or a project.
But nobody gave
And he
him.
was Muslim.
Nobody gave him a science experiment to do. Mm-hmm. He just decided to come to school.
It wasn't like it was a science fair.
He showed it to one teacher, and that teacher said, "Hey,
what is that?
Do me a favor." Close that because other people might think something about it. Mm-hmm. And he was like, nah, everybody gonna see this. Mm-hmm. And eventually, by the third fucking teacher or something, one of the teachers was like, yo, I think there might be a bomb here. Get this shit out of here. So he had every option to close the goddamn suitcase.
Not even just
like
that.
They were being careful, right? I mean,
to a degree, Ahmed was his name, like Ahmed. So the other issue was that he was sent to the principal's office, and they tried to ask him like, what is going on? This kid's like 12, maybe 13, very young. So they asked him in the principal's office, like, yo, what's going on? What is this? What are you doing? Old enough.
Old enough for Asya to fuck.
not to fuck, to groom.
To groom, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Yes, she will wait till he's 17.
It's like fine wine for her, but a little early.
It's like chickens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just let it grow up.
It's veal. It's veal.
It's baby
chicken.
Okay.
So basically, I mean, what happened was Obama invited that kid to the White House, and it was kind of like, fuck you, Texas schools, you guys are all racists. And the kid left the U.S. and he went to like the Gulf states or whatever to pretty much, go to school out there. But then I think the family eventually came back. But when you look into the history of the family, the older sister had like done a bomb threat. You know what I mean?
This is ridiculous. I've never heard of it. Obama invited him to the White House.
Story. Where the fuck
no
were you?
No wonder why so many people hated Obama. This is ridiculous.
I'm shocked you don't know this.
Yeah.
Like this is a massive story.
You were too busy
year was it?
shaving
Because
your
there was a year where I
47-year-old's back.
3-4
You were
years
just
ago.
studying pussies.
I was like highly over medicated at that point and in a bad relationship.
Who cares? I don't want to spend too much time on Clock Boy.
This is
Go on.
So yeah, basically, I mean, so Clock Boy, shout out to Clock Boy because he probably is chilling right now for that money that he got.
Oh yeah, he got some bread. Okay, so then
but
you're in this situation where you could absolutely play up the victim card. I'm sure tons of people would.
Oh my God, they'd be like, they'd be fawning all over.
Yo, I throw out that refugee thing. Like, kidding me? The shorties? Oh my God!
They love
They're
that.
like, oh my God, let me suck your dick.
Hey,
you are the captain now.
funny. Hold on, talk about funny story. Funny story about that movie. I auditioned for that movie, the
Really?
Captain Phillips, and I got a call back.
You had too many teeth?
Starving guy number 4, and I had too many teeth. Didn't look too scary, I guess.
Nah, you look
he got
great. You
fat,
got good
son.
skin.
This dude got fat in
pretty big.
America.
How long have you known him?
How long have I known you?
Like I think close to a
He
year.
came to my show in Minnesota.
Yep.
This is the thing, Andrew's
That's how you
incredible at
guys
is
met?
befriending fucking fans.
Yo,
It's
for sure.
Yep.
I got a group chat going. He's part of my Muzzy group chat, right?
Right.
I got him.
Damn, you got
crazy
muscle
name.
ones and you call them muzzies.
Yeah, it's my
I
homies.
don't like it, dog. I don't like you knowing shit like that.
Dude.
That shit makes me real tight.
So I got him and my boy F.A., who I still call Effie. But these are my consigliaries,
Why
bro.
does
When
Minnesota-
it's wartime, I go to them.
Why Minnesota has so many refugees?
So-
Because Sudanese refugees are there too in mass, right?
Oh yeah.
It's because that's where the burqa makes sense. Like you want to be covered head to toe when it's negative 20.
That's
you know
funny.
what I mean?
There's
It's
actually
the
not.
first
There's
place
not
that
that
makes
many
sense.
people wearing burgers.
I think
in
that's
Minnesota.
like fucked Americanism, where it's like, listen, we'll let you
Probably
in,
some
but you
places.
got to go to Minnesota.
No, the reason why
it's
is
genius.
Oh,
It's
we
like,
can
how
see
do we
who
get
really
them to
wants
convert to America?
straight up go to middle
we
of
can't
America.
put you to New York. You're going to just hide in Brooklyn with everybody else just like you. Now we're going to send you to Minnesota.
Yo, my
You
Uber
gonna be
driver was
white.
like Palestinian. You know what I mean? We were just like chilling. But no, the reason why Minnesota is because of the Lutherans out there. They're like so giving, and like they set up these kind of sponsorship programs where they bring in refugees. So they brought the Hmong, the Cambodians, the some Vietnamese, and a lot of Somalis. So the majority of Somalis outside of Somalia are in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
What's their relationship with the Lutherans then? Is there an appreciation? Is there a fondness?
I mean, they stay over there. It's like we
Y'all
pretty
can't
much say.
dap them up? Like,
I mean,
yo,
what you guys
Y'all can have
are
a
like,
real Thanksgiving.
No, we really no. I mean, I think what it was is like the small towns in Minnesota is where a lot of these churches are based. They help get you set up, and then afterwards, people just kind of coalesce into their communities where they have
you
like
just
flea markets,
go where it's
and
familiar.
places where it's familiar and where you know people. So people
Right.
are like connecting with people from back home, like decades later. So yeah, I grew up in Minnesota. Came here in again like '93. It's like 2 months after I was born, and yeah.
Why are you
it's
not a
been- it's been
victim,
dope.
bro?
So I mean, just to kind of
Just to put context into all this real quick.
No, I feel you.
Just to put context to all that. Not only is he not a victim, he's a black Muslim Trump
You're gonna
supporter. This
jump
guy
right into it.
loves Trump.
Yeah.
Huge. This is my cabinet. My cabinet is with one Turkish Muslim dude who's like the
Pretty
most
liberal.
liberal fucking
Pretty
pussy,
liberal.
right? But he's actually
No, he's a good guy.
He's actually genius.
Yeah.
But he's like he's one of these liberals that actually can make the arguments for it. He's not like a Twitter liberal.
He's not Asia Argento.
Right.
He's not that.
He's not
He is
only
a-
like typing away, and that's all
No,
he's
exactly.
doing.
Like he's supposed to be a lawyer,
Yeah,
right?
yep,
He is a lawyer, right?
yep,
and it's like this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. He just believes that's the right way.
Yep.
And then we got Abdi over here, who's Trump. Like he literally said the other day, "I'm not gonna." He goes, "Trump's my OG, bro."
No, Trump's a big homie.
Tell me why.
I'm gonna say it right now. Trump's that nigga. Yeah. Trump's that nigga. Cause no, real talk. No, hold on a second. Let's back up a bit. Go. No, actually, I'll just tell you in the group chat.
Up, fam.
No,
Let's go. Let's go, Abdi. Tell him.
Yeah, I'll tell him. But no, I was gonna say in that group chat. Basically, the whole premise of the group chat is to bring you to Islam, Joe. You know?
Yeah, I
We
know.
told
They've
you
been
in the
trying to
beginning.
convert me for a
Like,
minute.
Yo, man, just that pork shit's.
That's what they
you know,
do,
kill
dog.
you.
It's
Son,
inherent.
the first day,
They try to
he
impregnate
meets me,
you
right?
soon.
What happens?
Make the baby fucking.
First day after the show, I go, yo, I'm hungry after the show. Y'all want to come out?
Bro,
Him and
this
his white
motherfucker
shorty.
gave me pork. This man gave
You
me
already
pork.
got a white woman.
Andrew.
Stop it, dog. Stop it.
No, I'm telling
That's
you.
your
this
pork
is,
right
no,
there.
Yo, this is
Haram!
yeah.
Yeah. Haram.
Yo, none of that happened. All right, no, but none of that happens. All right, mom, if you're listening. Yo, this is what happened. Right, we go to this restaurant.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, I'm like, all right, let me get this chicken burger. You know, he's gracious enough to like, pay for me and my homegirl.
Come on,
and
now.
like, I bite into the
You
You
sandwich.
let your date get paid for by another man?
No.
The fuck?
It was not a day. It was not a day. Like, I knew Shorty like since like growing up, so it's like friends. But
Groomed her.
yeah, no, Asya, don't give me any of that Asya. Don't give me any of that Asya.
I want to hear about your thoughts on all that.
No,
too.
for real. No,
because I know I could feel your energy
Shut up!
over there.
Yeah.
No,
No, you know what? Last time I was on, you guys wouldn't let me say one fucking thing.
No,
And I was
That's
like,
why it was so good.
and I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm coming on and I'm gonna fucking talk
real
this
talk.
time.
see you got a mission.
Everybody, real quick. Time's up. Now, so back to this real quick.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
speed up the story so we can
go,
get to the sexy Trump shit. We go out to eat. He orders a chicken burger, right?
Bite right into it.
Guy bites right into the burger, right? And then he goes, this is good. And then
I did not say that.
Yeah, you did.
You're
You're
like, this is a new taste
it's
to my
like, yo,
palate. I
he's
don't
like,
know.
what is this flavor that tastes so great and
Fuck
just makes
outta
me
here.
no,
Yo, Allah.
you did say that. You said some shit. You said some shit. You were like, holy shit, this is one of the best chicken burgers I've ever had in my entire
What I
life.
said verbatim was, yo, this fucking tastes different.
No, what you
There's
said
a weird
verbatim
taste.
is, I was like, fam, yo, there might be pork in there.
Nah, this
And-
dude said,
yo-
just don't worry about it. You're tripping.
I didn't say you're tripping. And then he literally pulls out the fucking pork.
Oh yeah,
right?
it was like bacon right under the chicken.
The waitress comes
That's a hate
over.
crime. Yo, Cockboy, call Cockboy's lawyer.
So straight up, the waitress comes over. He goes, "Miss, is there pork on this? Is this pork?" He's holding a piece of pork. But
Yeah.
he's like, "Is there pork on this?" She's like, "Oh yeah, there's pork." And he looks her right in the
Sue that
eyes.
restaurant.
He
Yeah,
goes,
straight up.
"Allah."
No, none of that. But no, straight
Poor white waitress like, we should have never brought them here. What was wrong with us?
He just took a lighter to his chest.
Yo,
Okay, so
straight
Trump.
Buddhist. We're not gonna get into the Trump shit right away. But
Yes, we're gonna get into it right away.
I'm
This flagrant
curious.
two
You
is
said
different.
Trump that N-word. You
Yeah,
got into
Trump's
it
that
pretty
nigga,
quickly.
though. I mean, I'll say that every goddamn day.
How the
But
fuck
at the end of the day,
yeah.
what I'll say is like, in 2012, I voted for Obama. You know what I mean? Coming up, pretty liberal, pretty progressive, but not really knowing the kind of mechanics of politics or like, policy. But after a while, you're kind of, I go from, again, liberal 2012, voting for Obama, kind of libertarian, going through college. And what it was really through going through college, seeing all these fucking fake ass liberals,
they're the
these fucking
worst.
surface level, simplified fucking
Robots.
activists. Yeah,
Yeah, the
robots.
robots.
And parroting each other.
Oh, they have they're reading from a script.
From a script, and almost everything is a trend to them. Almost every cause that they get behind was literally a trend,
It
right?
has no meaning to them.
So I saw
know.
that hypocrisy, and at the end of the day, I was just like, yo, fuck these niggas. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, these people stand for nothing, and it's really, and not even just them. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at the political system at its hierarchy, like at the top, it's just Democrats placating to victims, right? Like you're selling two things. You're either selling opportunity and self-sufficiency, which I see from conservatives. I identify as a conservative. I work like as a volunteer for the state GOP and working to get like minorities involved, and then also doing some like cultural and political commentary. But yeah, what I saw was that self-sufficiency message, and then the message of no, you need us. The government.
You're saying, just to clarify, you're saying conservatives have a self-sufficiency
message
that resonate with you,
that I identified with,
right?
Yeah.
And you're saying Democrats have a dependency
message.
I think you and Kanye might get along.
Oh yeah, yo.
This is real. To an immigrant, self-sufficiency makes so much more sense.
So here's my question, though, and this is something I'm sure you've heard a million times, which is, how can you be upset at dependence when you and a lot of your family members were dependent on
for sure.
people to
No, of course.
come?
And that's a great question, right? No, that's a fact. That's a great question. And at the end of the day, it's like, if people give you the opportunity, it's what I say. It's like, okay, give me a crutch, don't give me like a wheelchair. You're not gonna wheel me around for my entire life, right? Like, it's like, you give me some help, you know, bring me up the ladder, give me an opportunity, and like, let me finesse it out of there. But if you're gonna say to me that intergenerationally that I'm going to be, you know, consistently dependent, I mean, look at what the government has done to the Native American community. They put them in those, you know, goddamn reservations, and that's it. They say, hey, just, you know, we'll take care of you from there. And then also there's, you know, it's a bit of a cliche, but they always, you know, point to the black community and what's happened, you know, since, you know, that they've incentivized black men to be out of the household. It's, you know, when you only are raised by a single parent, like I was, you have a higher statistic of, you know, committing crime, you know, not being as educated, and obviously there's outliers.
Incentivize that?
So I mean, economic opportunity, and just more so just kind of not giving the one option of just saying, you know, welfare, dependency, victimhood. And again, we're kind of broad brushing a lot of these, you know, things, but to kind of give the fine-tuned message, it's telling people that they have the ability to kind of make something of themselves in a place, you know, leaving a place that they probably had nothing and living in squalor, to now being in one of the, you know, like, I have a huge patriotism towards the U.S., even like I wasn't even born here, not really a traditional nativist, you know, natural American, but adopting that, I'm just like, yo, how could you hate on America at the end of the day? You have all these people saying it's a cisgendered white supremacist.
But don't you think that, let's just say, the black community, right? Since they have had like years and years of dealing with,
not dismissing that at all,
not just slavery, but Jim Crow, and then like the
redlining,
prison system and stuff,
course,
right? Like, maybe that's why they aren't like, America.
No,
even though I have black friends who are Trump supporters and who don't align with that, but
no, I hear you on that. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I honestly look to the black community as like having paved the way for a lot of new immigrants and new, like, you know, what they call now new Americans having been here, and that's the story of like human struggle. Like, there's nothing that's been easy. And I mean, when you look at like slavery and, okay, going back to the founding, right? I was having this conversation with a friend recently. People look at the founders as just like these old racist white guys who,
he's referring to the founding fathers,
fathers of the U.S., right? And that they basically enshrined slavery and bigotry and their white supremacy in the Constitution. But people don't fucking know that after they got done with their mission of setting up this country and getting, you know, the British off their backs, they were like, okay, what do we do next? Ben Franklin, on the $100 bill, you know what I mean? Benji, the big homie, fucking made, you know what I mean? I'm not really that familiar with him that often, but, you know. But no, Benjamin Franklin pretty much made the choice to move back to Pennsylvania, where he's from, and he became the president of the Abolitionist Society. So first he's like, let me get freedom for myself and my country and the, you know, the colonies, and then let me work towards giving freedom to people that I think have been enslaved. You know, so there's been this kind of progressive movement towards freedom for all, and that's the essential, I don't know, like, idea that I get behind, right? So the bigger government you have, the less freedom the individual has. The more freedom the individual has, the more opportunity and like finesse that they can do.
Extension of Andrew's question about you being brought to this country, being kind of allowed in, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it. Trump, your boy,
travel ban,
letting less people into the country, doesn't that completely fly in the face of what you're so thankful for?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question.
So also, how do you reconcile, not that you can't love Trump, but how do you reconcile those two?
So that's the thing too, right? Like, that's the other issue with a lot of liberals in the country when they're dealing with things on a political level, on the mechanics of it, right? So when I say mechanics, I mean like the three branches of government and how the executive has, like, the executive office has a lot of reach, and Trump can literally say through a pen, through an executive order, I don't want a certain country to be let in. And he uses national security to do it. I'm not gung-ho about the travel ban. I'm not happy about it, but I'm not going to say at the end of the day it's a Muslim ban. Indonesia has the most Muslims in the world, and they get to still come in because they don't have a scourge of ISIS and like terrorist issues. So like, for example, Minnesota, until like right now when I flew out here, I could still use my driver's license. But in February 2019, I can't because our system isn't as secure as like other states doing background checks and having that kind of infrastructure to do that.
So what are you going to use to fly?
Passport.
You have to have a passport.
Wow.
Domestically.
Pennsylvania's
Right?
the same. My
Right?
girl got to use her passport every time she flies.
So to me that I'm giving that as an analogy.
So if Minnesota and Pennsylvania require a passport to travel.
Not a license
their
anymore.
own admission that they're not vetting their people well enough.
Exactly.
The argument that he would probably make is
Syria,
how is
Libya,
Yemen,
Egypt,
or Libya, or Egypt,
or
places
Somalia, where
that
I'm from.
Somalia, which are way less structured and civilized. How are they going to possibly vet the people in the same way? That would be the argument that side would make.
Right, and not even that. Just to even expand on that, when they have, there's a huge migrant issue right now in Europe. What the French do is, the French is, they're so secularist that they're like pretty much just trying to sanitize all religion, right? Like you can't even wear, I think if you're Sikh, you can't really even wear the turban or is looked down upon. You can't even wear big crosses in France anymore. Or they try to ban like the burkini. So that just like women dressing modestly at the beach was like no for them.
Insane.
Show some skin, pose. That's what they're
that's
basically
pretty much
saying.
So there's
very
like
Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, very Pepe. Yeah, goddamn skunk. Oh, me too, right? So with France, what they're doing now to deal with that issue of all these Muslims coming in, and some of them, what happened with the Paris attack with like 100 people got killed, right? Some of them were refugees. And now after that, what they've been doing is pretty much militarizing all the different Muslim neighborhoods and shutting down mosques and pretty much like exerting more force on these communities. So I don't want a future where, they use that example
to you,
after
the lesser
9/11.
of two evils is...
He wants to be Muslim freely.
Like Trump said, let's figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what the guy said.
So you're saying, listen, I would rather, if I had to choose, that ban, the travel ban, versus I can't really practice my religion freely.
Exactly. And not even that. After 9/11, I think there was like a Pulitzer Prize report by the AP that said, dude, like the CIA trained NYPD to spy on Muslims in New York City.
Right.
And they spied on not just Muslims at radical mosques that they thought were suspect, but they spied on kids at Rutgers University in the MSA.
I'll be honest with you, that's what the NYPD has done with organized crime, with the mafia. They've done it with the Russians. They've done it
had
with
an incentive
Jews. They've done it with Italians. So I'm saying this is a very normal thing
for sure
for the NYPD to do is to spy on groups that they feel like they could potentially be dangerous.
Exactly.
So a bunch of Italians that did absolutely nothing were spied on. A bunch of Russians that did nothing were spied on.
And I don't want to give them more reason by having members of ISIS who have said literally, we're going to come into the U.S., we're going to come into Europe through the refugee program, and then do whatever they think is in their mind a righteous cause.
So here's something I want to say.
That's why I would support.
Here's something I want to ask you, and because I feel like this is kind of unfair. The second everybody meets a Trump supporter, you're immediately put on the defense, right? Mm-hmm. Or they're immediately put on the defense. And you have to prove why you're okay with certain things. What nobody ends up asking, let me ask a question. What nobody ends up asking a Trump supporter is, why do you like him? It's always how do you think this way?
You as a, you know who I get it from the most, right? Like no offense,
white women.
From
they're
white
the
women.
fucking worst.
But real quick, because we
and they're probably ugly. Probably ugly white women.
We're not here all day.
Sorry,
very limited time.
Go ahead.
Oh, Andrew, come on.
We have very limited time, right, Alex?
Yeah.
Very limited time. I don't want to waste it. So there's another podcast that has to come in here soon.
Oh, we're
so if we were here for 3 hours, I'd talk all fucking day.
100%. All right, go ahead.
But I want you to I want your fair shot. I want you
Appreciate
to. So what is it that you saw in Trump and see in Trump?
Yeah.
That you like and support? What did it come down to?
Again, it really was. First off, the premise of it was like the lesser of two evils. But I think what I was supporting Rand Paul, right? A libertarian guy down the middle, talking about small government, getting rid of the NSA spying, all this kind of stuff you can get on board with. But Trump really kind of solidified that message of like, yo, the rest of the world is fucking screwing America. Right, like he first came out with this whole TPP thing, and it was like, "Yo, if you want better jobs here, we got to figure out how China's, pretty much raping us, financially, right. and basically we have NATO, the EU, we're like covering their military costs, and so the U.S. has become, in a way, under Obama, has become this kind of, I don't know, it's like if you have your friends stay over for you and they don't pay the bills, and you're just kind of, feeding their lifestyle.
Right.
That's what the U.S. has become for the rest of the world.
Vinny Chase.
There you go. Yeah, Entourage. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yeah, and you got Mexico. Mexico's turtle, pretty much. You know what I mean? And like Tortuga. So it's like
Canada's E.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Canada's E, the fucking ugly fucking Damon brother.
Why do you think it's so
taboo?
No, I was gonna say I was gonna talk about Israel for a minute, just because you're
real
quick.
Sorry.
Before we haven't heard him. Why he wants.
Oh yeah.
So what
sorry,
is it that you resonated? Go.
No, I'm just resonating. Like the guy was calling out bullshit. I mean, like one of the most like beautiful scenes was when he was like talking down to a reporter, and he was like, the guy was like, "Why do you say anchor babies? Don't you want to say something that's like a bit more, less harsh?" And he's like, "Well, give me something. Give me something that is less harsh than anchor baby." He's like, "Well, why don't you call them the children of families who immigrated into the U.S. with undocumented access?" And he's like, "No, I'm just gonna say anchor baby. Shut the fuck up." You know what I mean? Like the guy is just he's and again, people say this all the time that he's he says what he thinks, and he's a businessman and all these different cliches. No, he gets it. The guy's been living at this level in society, dealing with these fucks, these elite fucks who basically are getting rich themselves off of us and then dividing us on these social issues, right? Like gay marriage and bathrooms and fucking, the bathrooms, right? And like, and immigration or like shit like that, they'll divide us on. But at the end of the day, it's just this kind of hot potato of power between the Bushes and the Clintons and the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment. And this guy said to both sides, "Fuck you. I'm going to take over this country." And he has a genuine message. And people will twist and turn and to kind of, pivot this conversation a different way. The reason why a lot of people see Trump as this a racist, bigoted, misogynistic, evil guy is because the Democrats weaponize that narrative in order to get people to like not support him, to get him away, and to get Hillary Clinton in. She had no message besides, "I'm not a racist, bigot, misogynist, homophobe, whatever."
Her only message was, "I'm not Trump."
I'm not Trump. She had nothing else besides that, right? And so what they did is they saw communities who have been victimized and who have been, marginalized, and then they use that PTSD that they had. And it's kind of like, if you hit your dog to teach them a lesson, you raise your hand and the dog whimpers away, they know what's going on. That's what the Democrats did, was saying like, "Oh, he said this or he did that, so don't go in his direction." But I think recently they just polled African Americans, and it's like 36% now favor the president. And like Hispanics, I think Hispanics, it was like 25% of Hispanics voted for Trump, 33% of Asians voted for Trump.
Why do you think it is that immigrants aren't more conservative?
I think it really is
value-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, we've discussed this before, but value-wise, they're far more conservative when it comes to religion.
I'm Muslim.
Yeah.
Right? I'm Muslim. Socially, the most conservative people ever, I think. You know what I mean? But and I mean, Orthodox Jews are like right there with us and the Hasidics. But our values line up a lot with more so the middle America Christian family, right?
Well, here's what I would say to you. A lot of immigrants are conservative.
They are.
A lot of children
Indians
of immigrants
are not
Democrats and liberal.
So what happens within one generation
when you grow up in America? You take for granted, and I'm working on a bit about this, but your American privilege. You're because you grow up in this. So I see white privilege because they get this thing I don't get. You forget, my parents came from a place that is far less privileged than this. And then when you come here, you're like, why are these people I'm happy to be here. I don't give a fuck if you don't like me. Let me keep my money.
But what about the values? That's what I'm interested in. Why aren't those
people lose the values
passed down?
Sometimes they lose the values. Again, it's so complex. It's going to be hard to put it in a concise way, but I really think it's there's this kind of cultural there's this culture developing in the U.S. of victimhood, of this soundbite culture that we have, this Twitter cancel culture. Like all this is kind of coalescing into a very shitty society in the near future.
Just real quick,
can I say this? Here's an example. An example. The hard work example, right? Hard work thing, very conservative. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yep.
You're the people who came here, the immigrants who came here, our parents, whatever, are the best of the best, the hardest working, most ambitious motherfuckers on earth that got out of there. The kids don't have to be that hard work. They're not born with the same gift in a lot of cases. They're not born with that, and so they're not going to buy as hard into. But pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
But Indian kids are. and Asian kids are. So what I'm fascinated by is like you have certain values do get passed down.
Yep.
Indian kids are hardworking. That's why they do exceptional in school. And that's why they end up being doctors, dentists. Same with Asian kids, right? Same with Nigerian kids. Maybe same with Somali kids. I don't know that many to say, but there are these values that are passed down. Yet social values seem to stop.
Well, I mean,
with the parents, you have it passed down, but it's more reinforced through Islam than it is
more so the faith. Like and I think what it is really is, again, you're kind of adopting this American culture, which is like what I characterized a bit ago. But I mean, I can't really kind of boil down all the different things. It was a very gradual, like I was saying, like when I was in college, I just saw like all the different, like some of the kids on campus were protesting these custodians getting fired, right? And they're these rich fucking kids from international cities or the East Coast and West Coast, all picketing and yelling at our fucking school administrators, like, how can you fire these custodians? Like, all right, well, we're gonna raise the tuition for you. Just don't fire them and don't raise the tuition. And they don't understand, balancing a budget. And so these same kids will walk down the street in Somerville, right, Somerville, Mass, and say, oh, we're in Slummerville, looking down on blue-collar, Bostonians or, Americans, and still see themselves as being progressive or, forward-thinking, right? It's bullshit. And, again, seeing the hypocrisy, seeing the kind of handout idea from the Democrats who really give nothing. What do Democrats have to win in 2018?
You said something interesting to me once, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I voted Democrat. I would say I'm more of a centrist. I'm literally in between you and Effie.
And I'll say just before you say that, this guy has never endorsed Trump. Even all the times I'm trying to again get him to convert to Islam, or also get him on the conservative bandwagon.
He wants me to convert to the two most hated
Islam,
people.
Right? Yeah, pretty much.
The MAGA.
The MAGA, and then he has the other thinking cap. But no, I mean he's a Democrat through and through. So this alt-right Andy stuff is to me is so
it's
surprising.
Mama. Make Andrew Muslim again.
Yeah, make Andrew, ma'am. There you go.
But what you ended up saying to me is, because we'll get into these conversations.
Definitely.
And your argument was this, and I was talking about what I thought was maybe the importance of liberal policies in certain times. And what you said to me was very interesting. You said, name a single liberal policy that empowers minorities.
Or one that they push on them.
Name the one that doesn't make them, what is it? Make minorities indebted or dependent.
Dependent, yeah. There's nothing that they're running on right now.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of shitty because my whole thing was I will pay more in taxes because I thought I was helping. I was like, I'll pay more in taxes. I'm making money. I'm going to give money to the government, hoping that it will help less privileged people.
This is what people
so that they can be brought up. And when you put it that way, which is I can't think of a single platform that is empowering.
No, I mean, based on the trillions of dollars we put into our government, 64% of that goes into social welfare programs like Medicare, Medicaid, all of that, and all of that goes back to people who need it. And it's just if you say, oh well, we're going to tax you more, that's not going to fix any of these issues. Right? The idea is growing the pie, not just continuously dividing it up as much as you can. So, I mean, again, it's such a complex issue to dive into, and it was a very...
It is really funny that you hear liberals saying, how do we not even have health care? Yeah. And, new immigrants in America are like, what's health care? Is that when you rub a tomato on your knee?
We're a bit more advanced than that. Come on, man. No, I mean, that's what it is, though. It is...
It's turmeric.
Turmeric, there you go.
I knew it was a T word.
Y'all just got onto it.
Or we just don't have flavor.
I mean, what we have is camel milk. Just drink camel milk and you're fucking good. Pretty much. It's pretty... Motherfuckers do drink camel pee. I've seen that in stores.
Damn, you gotta be thirsty.
That is wild. But anyway, no, I mean, again, it was just a gradual change for me over time. I think it was that I had on that.
But now you're gung ho.
Why do you think that there's this Trump hysteria? Because look, it's not like I like him.
Yeah.
But I don't wake up every morning thinking about him. I know other people.
Yeah.
They literally think about him.
The saddest I've ever seen in New York.
White upper middle class people that I know that are out here acting insane. This is
why. It's because some of these folks, right? And again, I honestly respect liberal activists and progressive activists way more than I do people who are apathetic about the political process, right? I got more respect for you that you got your skin in the game and you're on these, campaigns knocking on the door and you want to get this guy out of here, but what I see is they had this complacency that they were okay with under Obama, right? And the idea of getting Hillary elected was just like, all right, well, we got this star on Obama being the first black president. Now let's get the first, woman president in there, and let's check off all these boxes, and everything will be okay.
And
Doesn't matter.
We won't have to feel guilty
and
anymore.
we won't have to feel guilty. We'll feel progressive. Everything is hunky dory. But they don't give a fuck about whether or not these people are fucking things up, whether or not Obama increases the deficit, whether or not Hillary Clinton, pretty much gave a, admitted to supporting a coup in Honduras, which is why a lot of people from Central America are coming into the country illegally. They don't think about these things. All they want is this feel-good distancing of the issues for themselves. And then when they have Trump in there, they're whipped up in a frenzy of saying like, oh my gosh, like this guy is going to take away our health care, and Kavanaugh, if he gets confirmed to the Supreme Court, is going to have Gilead, and it's all going to be fucking Handmaid's Tale.
I know,
Alyssa Milano is insane for that.
What she said?
Bitch is crazy. She like took a picture in a fucking Little Red Riding Hood outfit and said, "Do not stop Kavanaugh, no Gilead," as if anyone's going to fuck
insane.
her.
Like as if we're going to end up ever living in Handmaid's Tale. People are crazy. If anything,
insane.
the alt left is going to have us living in fucking Handmaid's Tale.
Why?
Yeah.
Because they're fucking crazier than
They want
anybody.
anarchy. They want anarchy. They say abolish profit. They say abolish ICE. Okay, that's like the big message from Democrats. And like you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez here in New York, who knows nothing about economics, right? Like she goes on there and she literally
she's just cute, fam.
She's cute. She's 28. She's young, and she beat a fucking dinosaur Democrat who's like the number 4 guy in Congress for Democrats, who could have been Speaker of the House if he had won. So that's who they're pushing, is this message of hope and this nicety image. And
the censorship stuff is what really scares me, because that's what I feel like, and I feel bad like saying like the liberals, because that's not true liberalism, right? But that's why I call it the alt left, because I want to give it like a negative kind of
And you want to separate it from
I want to separate it because they are trying to police ideas. They're trying to police. If I came out and said I support Trump, right? My life would be over.
Oh yeah, you'd be the fuck out of here. You're canceled. Yeah.
So, and just for that simple thing, it's
wild.
Really kind of crazy.
They've kind of had this incremental growth towards authoritarianism, right? First, I mean,
define authoritarianism.
To me, I think
Puritanism, like it's just this weird,
it's a weird
anti-sex, anti-fucking.
I really want to get into I don't know if we even have time to, but the whole Me Too stuff that you were talking about, and you brought up Aziz earlier. I mean, yeah, these people are
dangerous.
The new Puritans, right? And it's a weird sense of it where they establish themselves as the end-all be-all authority on what they can dictate as being appropriate, right? You can't appropriate a certain culture. You can't appropriate certain they say, like, again, going back to my times in school, a white guy would have an opinion. They say, well, you can't have that opinion. You're white. You don't know the experience of X
You're a
identity.
white man.
You're
also,
a white
so
man.
you're evil, and anything you say is actually oppressing me because you're white and you're a man and you're part of the patriarchy.
You can be like, well, I just donated my kidney to a black woman, so I mean, what does that mean that I can say anything? Now they're like, no, close, but so I mean that to me is what I see as being authoritative, right? So someone saying that they have the authority to say who can be on Twitter, who can be online, right, or who can take part in anything, and they also just like cut off your finances now is what they do. Like, I think there's a couple right wingers. Again, I don't agree with a lot of people on the right in certain things, but I still think they have the right to speak and talk about these issues. And now what a lot of people have been resorting to, not just getting rid of advertisers, is like, no, just cut off their PayPal, like cut off their Patreon. And that to me is, we're heading down a very, very bad path. I think people have to fucking take a second back and be like, yo, 2016 happened, move the fuck on. This guy Trump, whether you agree with him or not, he's not really that much different from what Democrats were standing for a few years ago. Hillary Clinton admitted in an interview on CNN in 2014, they said, would you deport children who came in with their parents illegally? And she was like, she wrote her book, Tough Choices, and every fucking 2 minutes she would say the word tough choices. And she said, I would make the tough choice to deport little kids. And then like a year later, Obama passes DACA, right? Which Trump didn't want to get rid of, but he got sued by all these different attorney generals, Republicans, who were like, yo, you're the executive branch. If you don't get rid of DACA, which is unconstitutional, again, it's the political mechanics Democrats don't care about. They don't care about the fucking checks and balances that we have to go through. They just think DAPA was turned down by the Supreme Court. So of course DACA, the one that inspired it, is going to be turned down. So Trump was like, all right, fuck it. I give you guys 6 months in Congress, which is your job. Come up with a law. And then at the end of the day, I'll support it. But I'll support it only if you give me a wall so we don't incentivize more people to then refer to DACA and have this gray area that they're in. So, I mean, it's really pretty much
I don't think I'm ever voting again. I didn't vote in the last term. That was the first time I ever didn't vote because I was like very passionate about voting. I have to vote. At one point, I didn't have the right to vote. So let me...
Why didn't you have the right to
nothing
vote?
is perfect.
Because I'm a woman. I'm saying at
You're
one
fucking
point...
30 years old.
I'm saying at one point women
Oh,
didn't
stop
have...
it. Stop it. Stop it.
No, it's true.
At
You're
one
right,
point in
though.
the 1800s, we didn't have the right. Let me tell you something.
I'm
Voting
just
sucks.
saying.
Yeah.
Fuck voting. I passionately don't vote. Best thing about voting day is me scrolling through Facebook, pretending y'all think your shit matters when you live in Texas
Anyway,
or
I'm not
California.
voting anymore. I'm done.
Why? Don't tap out of the
I'm
system.
so
Tap
done.
out, girl.
I'm tapping the fuck out.
Tap out.
Local elections are the most important.
Man, shut the
that's
fuck
fact.
up.
No,
Alex.
Alex is right though. They really are.
Come over here with your facts.
Yo, you know why local elections are
Fuck-ass Alex.
important right now? I'm from Minnesota. Guess who's running for our attorney general?
I know they're important, but then you got to know so much shit.
No, Keith Ellison.
Yo, you know how my dad...
Keith-
we're
I
going to
don't-
get to
that
Keith
name
Ellison.
sounds familiar.
We're going
Who's
to talk
that?
about
I'll
that.
let you know.
But my dad taught me how to vote in local elections. This is dead ass how he taught me how to vote. We went into the voting booths together, right? And he goes,
Eeny, miny,
you see,
moe?
no, he goes, you see this party right here? This is the Democrats. And then he just flipped all the switches down to Democrats. And then we walked out the voting booths. I was like, do
That's
you
a
know
hardcore
them? They're
Democrat.
like, no, not really, but they got good ideas.
Yo, man, that's kind of me now, dude. I became an ideologue. I became, it's
Yeah,
sad.
you go a little bit
But-
too much. You go
Hey,
too hard on it.
Good.
You got to go a little hard. But so Keith Ellison is running for Attorney General of Minnesota, and he just got recently endorsed by the Democrats. He is the number 2 of the Democratic Party, the deputy chair. He's also a congressman from Minnesota.
Also
the
a
5th
Muslim.
District. Also the first Muslim in
his last
Congress.
name-
That's the problem. We can't have that
He's
shit.
no, he's
He converted? What? He
No,
married
he's
a Muslim?
a black man, joined Nation of Islam, and then I guess now he's Muslim. And I don't consider Farrakhan or Nation of Islam Muslims.
Damn.
Right.
Really?
To be real with y'all.
Of course not.
I mean, Malcolm X didn't either. The
Yeah.
same people that bodied Malcolm X.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, trying to co-sign him. And he said when he went to Hajj, he was like, yo, now I found true Islam. Like, he's like, I prayed next to a guy with blue hair, and blue hair.
Blonde hair and blue eyes.
Blonde hair and blue eyes, and people from Asia, people from the Middle East, and that's to me true Islam.
So
is
at
like
the end
this
of the day,
universal
Malcolm
idea.
did like that blonde hair, blue eyes, bro.
No,
At the beginning of the day,
Yeah,
fam.
there you go. But no, I mean, so the same people that bodied him. So I don't really put those two and two together. They believe something different. They believe God came in the form of a black man, which is way different than our faith. We believe God has no form. Divorced from the universe, is not in the universe. It's a whole
Anyway,
theological
Keith Ellison.
thing. So Keith Ellison is a Muslim through that way, and now he's running for Attorney General. And pretty much like 2 or 3 days before the primary, he still won. 2 or 3 days before the primary, he was accused of pretty much like domestic assault, domestic abuse by an ex-girlfriend. And she didn't directly accuse him, but her son posted on Facebook. Shit went viral overnight. And he said, I found a video on my mom's laptop when I borrowed it showing Keith Ellison dragging my mom out of the bed and like assaulting her. And again, this is the deputy chair of the Democratic Party. Like second highest dude. He almost became the chair of the party.
Imagine Paul Ryan had a video like that.
Yeah.
Or
Pretty
like an
fucking
accusation
much.
Like that.
Pretty
I
fucking
mean,
much.
imagine if...
And just to parallel what you were talking about, Asia Argento, Democrats are like, maybe we should wait for the evidence. Maybe we should, let's not rush the judgment. Maybe she's lying. And these are the same people that were going down Trump's throat with, women who came out. I think almost none of them had, any claims of assault or whatever until the CNN debate where he was just like, oh, well, grabbing pussy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said that. Or like when that video came out. So Keith Ellison has had in the past credible, I think there's like a police report, that came out also recently. And now Democrats are saying, because this is a very contested attorney general's race, we have a governor's race, and we also have Al Franken's seat is up for grabs too. And Al Franken was one of those folks,
grabbing a lot.
Al Franken was grabbing whatever he could get a hold of. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, the guy was wild. And so it just shows the hypocrisy of Democrats in that way, and that's why local elections are fucking.
It's important. It's just a
Also,
lot to know.
if anyone had aligned themselves, look, Nation of Islam and Farrakhan, and he's
they're on
obviously
Keith Ellison
very
with Farrakhan.
vocal about disliking
Anti-Semitism,
Jews and disliking gays, and if anyone had aligned themselves with the group saying that they were anti.
Yo, Farrakhan is still coming at Jews on Twitter.
I know.
And he doesn't get kicked off of Twitter,
No,
but right wingers
Proud
are.
Boys,
yeah,
right,
Proud
and then-
Boys
yeah.
and Gavin McInnes
Right.
and all these
And they're
different
both considered hate groups by Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah, which is wild. So all Twitter did was they got rid of Farrakhan's check mark, right? And they
is
don't.
that what- I
That's
didn't
all
know
they
that.
did. That's all they did. And he still has hundreds of thousands of followers and people hanging on
Shouts
his
to Farrakhan, yo. That dude a great speaker, bro. I've watched a few of his things. Like, that motherfucker is powerful.
He's a cult leader at the end of the day. He's a cult leader at the end of the day.
Nothing wrong with that.
Just one quick question.
Go ahead.
So you said Trump's your nigga.
Trump's that nigga.
That nigga.
Yeah.
I'm baffled because you're a Muslim
Alex Black
refugee immigrant.
Facts. This is
and
all true.
all this stuff. Like, I respect the fact that you've only been talking about policy this whole time.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about Trump as a person?
Trump as a person, the same dude that was on Home Alone 2, the same dude on Fresh Prince, the same dude that like we've fucking known for like decades, is now, bro. Trump has a picture of him with Muhammad Ali and Rosa Parks. I can't call that nigga a racist. Do I have a picture of Rosa Parks? Do you have a picture of Rosa
You
Parks?
got a picture with two black people,
You know?
man. That don't make you not a racist.
With the black people though, Rosa Parks. Come on, bro.
Yeah, but
come on, bro. Come on. Don't play Rosa Parks like that, bro. No, but what I'm saying is like Trump the person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying the guy is the most moralistic or whatever. You know, with like especially the women's stuff.
Everything.
But I'm saying, all right, what's one example that you would say?
I mean, there's a list. The stuff you said about Mexicans, Charlottesville. There's good people.
Charlottesville is
on both
perfect.
sides.
Charlottesville is perfect. Charlottesville is perfect.
Go. And then
Right.
we got to wrap up.
And we'll wrap up.
Mexicans in Charlottesville. Go.
Yeah. Well, Mexicans again. What I
Charlottesville,
mentioned.
go.
Okay, Charlottesville. I will say the biggest issue with Charlottesville is that soundbite of him saying both sides, right?
Yeah.
Of him saying that there are very good people on both sides.
Yes.
Again, the media perception is 100% it's the game, right? So basically, what the guy was saying was during this debate on Confederate statues, they just tore one down like 3 days ago in North Carolina. Basically, the idea is you can still support Confederate statues and not be a fucking insane white supremacist Nazi.
I don't agree with that.
No, I think you can. I think you can. At the end of the day,
I think it's disgusting.
Condoleezza Rice, the first black Secretary of State, said we're sanitizing our history if we're just tearing down things that we disagree
She
with.
also is the reason that fucking 9/11
I
happened.
listen.
And the Iraq War, for sure,
You know,
for sure. No, I don't
mean,
agree with her a lot.
It's like you have to draw the line. It's the Confederate shit is so fucking.
Again, you are the white woman deciding what everyone else. I don't give a fuck.
Deciding. I have an opinion.
No,
I'm
but
white. I can have an opinion.
you can. No, for sure, and we can disagree on that.
Own it.
It's ugly.
So here's the thing.
It's immoral.
Here's the thing, real quick, with history.
Yep. It's not.
People
fucking
always
perfect.
say this is a stain on our history. History is a stain. There's no such thing as looking back and finding something better than now. We're living in the best way for it. Tomorrow will be a little bit better than today, and the next day will be a little bit better than that. When you go back, it gets worse and worse and worse
Yep.
because history is a stain. We progress forward
That's
from
bars.
shit that's backward.
That's bars.
Progress forward, okay? So if you look back at history, you have to judge it within the context of time because that's what's normal. You cannot judge history within the context of now because it's impossible to tell where the future is going. Right? Back in the day, when you're making a fucking statue, whatever. Listen, I don't like the statues because I think they're treasonous.
The one issue I have with the statues.
That's my issue. You are treasonous. You are putting traitors in a fucking statue. It's disgusting.
And
As an
honoring
American,
them.
you shouldn't stand for that, right? But the concept of this person did something bad in the past and he has a statue, was it considered bad then? Is the question.
So it doesn't matter. It's considered bad now. If there was a statue of Hitler up now, we would take the shit down.
Exactly.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Wait for it. So here's the thing. Here's a different thing with Hitler. Hitler's regime
It was a very short amount of time.
Right? Hitler doesn't even short time. Hitler's regime is done. If Hitler was still in power, Hitler's regime was still in power, you think there'd be some statues of him?
And the Confederate South is done.
Which is why I said it's treasonous and they shouldn't have it.
Let me get this point off. This is what Trump literally said during that same press conference. He said, if we get rid of Robert E. Lee, are we now going to go into getting rid of George Washington? And freaking Angela Rye went on CNN and said, fuck George Washington, fuck Ben Franklin, fuck Thomas Jefferson, get rid of them too. And that's where she lost the moderate Democrats, even some of the white Democrats who were like, oh, well, we love George Washington. I don't think we're going to. These people are too radicalized to then, go into saying, we can all have the conversation of when these statues are erected, which is right around Jim Crow, which means they were endorsing, the Old South of enslavement, which is disgusting, right? But I'm afraid of then people having this kind of thing where they don't want to remember the history of this country, that it was ugly, and they want to sanitize themselves and just basically just say to themselves, everything's hunky-dory, and in the future, everything going to be
I think
fucking
we should get
bliss.
rid of those statues and call it a day because
It's not
going to
stop.
Those
The same
neighborhoods have to wake up and fucking walk by and see those statues.
I appreciate you saying that because they did a poll and like 60-something% of black people in those same states were like, I don't give a fuck.
Well, then if they don't give a fuck, then whatever. Because I am white, so
no.
There was also a poll saying that Hillary was going to win by a landslide.
No, I know. Polls don't mean something in certain situations.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
In Texas. Nobody give a fuck about Confederate flags. Nobody give a fuck about statues. I had friends, Confederate flags in their garage. It's me, him, a black kid. We're all just hanging out.
Bro,
it's just
maybe
a
they're
thing.
ignorant to their history.
Here's the thing. Stop teaching history.
No, I think that's the opposite.
No. Wow. This is what my point is.
So they want.
This is what we're gonna have to do, because the reality of the matter is you can't find me a person from 100 years ago. I don't give a fuck who you pick. You cannot find me a person from 100 years ago that could exist today. You cannot endorse any man or woman 100 years ago.
To your point,
I guarantee you, there's not a single guy, because, well, yes, they might want to get rid of those statues. You know how they might feel about gays? Nobody.
True, we're not saying everyone's perfect, though. We're just saying there are some things that are worse than others. Slavery is just not something that should be honored, should be celebrated.
I want to respond to him. Just 1 second.
Worse.
I want to respond. Look. Again, you're trying to rank things that are wrong in different levels. What we're trying to do is what is below sea level, right? We know right now that slavery is way below sea level. That's the most fucked up shit. You cannot do that. But as society progresses, sea level gets a little higher. So right now, infidelity, it's above sea level, but them tides are rising, bro. And in 50 years, them tides might be higher. No, because right now, right now, we know that it's wrong to make fun of the gay community. Right now, it's wrong. 15 years ago, when you were in high school, it wasn't.
Because I was ignorant to it. I was ignorant to the fact that it's wrong to make fun of gays.
Right.
And then once I empathized and I learned that you shouldn't, then I stopped. All right, that's it. But this has nothing to do with
what I'm saying.
Slavery, genocide,
or what Trump said in that.
So you
stop
think
it.
All I'm trying to tell you is remove slavery. Let's not even talk about slavery. What I'm telling you is we all agree that there are certain things that were acceptable in society. Maybe we're ignorant to them, right? And then after, as time goes on, we become knowledgeable of them.
We both agree on that point.
So we lose our ignorance.
Next
right?
point.
Right?
I understand your point, but do you understand my point?
Which is what?
That we shouldn't honor things that are so criminally wrong.
What did I say about the statues?
You said that we should take it down because they were treasonous.
Yes.
Okay, so that's your reasoning for it.
Sure.
But if I see that statue, I'm hurt by it because they're honoring somebody who was in support of slavery. I don't know my ancestors, nothing from my past because of slavery. Right. So I feel a different way about it than you do.
Can I ask you a
it's
question?
Triggering.
Can I ask you a question? Do you believe that your feelings or that you being triggered can then sanitize everything in history that you feel has wronged you, or indirectly or directly?
No, we should. I
don't believe in honoring these folks.
I completely disagree with Andrew. We shouldn't teach history. We should know about history. We should learn from the past.
I was being sarcastic. Okay. I said we shouldn't teach.
But I'm just saying, at the same time, I'm not saying let's whitewash history. Let's forget about it. But
Columbus, what if that's triggering? Do we get rid of it?
So you're not going to let me finish my point?
Please, go ahead.
I'm just saying we shouldn't honor things that are bad. Back when Hitler was during his reign, some people agreed with what he was doing. He had statues, and you know what? The moment he was killed, the moment we won the war, those statues were taken down.
100%, yeah.
So why is the same thing not done when we defeated the South?
Well, in Europe, it's also a criminal act to talk about
Well, that's
Yeah,
Germany.
to be Nazi. Yeah.
No,
I
it's
agree
not
with-
just Germany.
Okay, fine. You're
The whole EU.
So
I'm
I agree.
sure.
I
That's
agree
what
with
I'm
you.
saying.
I agree with you. I don't think they ever
But
should have been
it's
erected
scary.
in the first place. 100%.
So then we
agree with you.
agree.
But here's my question: is of course we agree, and if you listen from the beginning, you would know that. But you're arguing with me for no reason. The problem I'm trying to address here is with what you brought up with Columbus. Columbus is also triggering for some people. Columbus also reminds them of a horrible history and why their family lives on reservations, why they don't get to, why there's alcoholics and drug addicts throughout their entire family, why their community has been ravaged. They're triggered just like you're triggered by those statues, but you're okay with that Columbus thing being up there. What happens?
I don't celebrate Columbus Day.
I'm
I
not
don't.
saying
I don't
celebrate it.
Okay,
You're
I'm
not
just
saying take it down. You're not saying rename Columbus Circle.
Here, let me just get in this because the whole
I don't
conversation.
think the statue should be there.
Yeah, the
So
whole.
let's get rid of Columbus Circle now. Okay.
No, I'm just saying that. Okay, so
You see where I'm going, right?
no, I
Like,
do see where you're going.
Okay.
I get that.
For the listeners, we're running in circles. The whole reason that came up is because you asked me, how can I support Trump, right? Like, I get where you guys
As
are
a
trying to go.
person.
You're having this philosophical debate, but let's move the fuck on, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying, why the fuck do I support Trump for saying stuff like that? All I was saying was he made a really good point, which you guys were just debating about if we get rid of Robert E. Lee first. What's next, right? Is it going to be George Washington, the founders of this country? He made that point. I agree with that point. I don't celebrate Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee even has a quote that literally says, don't fucking put up statues of me. Robert E. Lee said, don't give statues of me. And now we celebrate Abraham Lincoln, who said, I think there was a quote saying, if I could, keep this union together without freeing a single slave, I'd do it. And then Robert E. Lee, there's quotes attributed to him saying we should end slavery.
There's
right?
also,
So it's,
for the record, there's a Robert E. Lee quote that he doesn't want statues.
that's
erected of him.
that's right. Yeah.
I think personally, there's a different view I take of those statues. Of that always reminds me I'm different. When I see shit like that, and I think that's important for me.
It's an indictment on the country.
It reminds me I am not a majority in this country, and I will always be looked at as different. And for me personally, that's an important thing to ground me in who I am and where my roots are.
You can't walk around.
That's why I think
I don't need that slavery to remind me.
No.
I look at my skin.
I get you, bro. I get you. And it's just like, are we really going to start then bulldozing the historical landscape of America by just getting rid of all the monuments? If so, fine. If people want to get rid of monuments that were erected during the Jim Crow era, that I agree with. You know what I mean? But then again, what the president was saying was, if you go after George Washington, if you want to go after Columbus, that's a fucking snowball
George
effect.
Washington owned slaves, man.
George Washington owned slaves. Thomas Jefferson owned and had relationships with slaves. But what I said earlier was Benjamin Franklin wanted to get rid of slavery and join an abolitionist movement. So what I'm saying is our history is fucking complex. It's fucking messy and it's not perfect. But if we try to, tell ourselves that everything will be okay as long as we can erase it and erase the past and act like as if it was not there. I know you're not saying that, but I'm telling you, bro, 100% the same people who just tear down that statue.
There's already
I have
movements
that.
to do this.
They literally. I talked to somebody who was at Columbus Circle, and she literally said that was our chapter organization. They tore down that statue. We're working on tearing down Columbus Circle. So that's the movement right now, is to get rid of the image, the historical landscape of what they see as white supremacy.
Because the historical landscape it's disgusting.
It's
I'm
what it
not
is.
gonna lie. When I look back at the founding fathers, there's amazing things about these people that founded this nation. Amazing thing. And they're fucking disgusting human beings. And if they lived today, we'd be like, lock these monsters up. Are you fucking kidding me? It's disgusting within the context of this time. But we all live within the context of our own time. And it's way easier for me to separate that as a white dude. It's way easier. Like 10 times easier for me to separate it.
We can have this conversation
But
about
that's the
Confederate
reality of
statues.
matter.
Yeah, you guys
You
have
know what
already.
I mean?
Yeah,
I think we got to
wrap up.
We gotta go.
We got to wrap it up because there's another podcast coming in. But thank you guys so much for listening. And, these conversations are always tough. Leah, thank you so much for being dope
Thanks
and a
for having me
whistleblower
on.
Yeah.
and all this stuff. Abdi, thank you for coming on here. And
Pleasure.
Couple brave souls here.
for real.
Whatever
You're way
feel about
braver
them.
than me, though.
I don't know.
I just don't give a fuck anymore.
I don't know because
know,
they
might
can't
be-
say shit about him.
Yeah, that is true.
What are they
It's
gonna
not like
say
you're a white
about him?
guy being like, I love Trump. Because
Exactly.
Then, yeah.
Like, you're trying to shut me down. I'm a refugee. I'm a poor refugee.
Exactly, man. Well, thank y'all so much for listening to Flagrant 2. Hopefully we'll survive Burning Man. That'll be great. We'll have plenty of time.
You guys can take
Motherfucker.
Molly and talk
You're
about
so lucky you got out of that.
stuff.
We almost didn't get our tickets because Andrew missed the delivery 3 fucking times. They left a slip. He didn't go pick up the fucking slip, and they sent it back to the goddamn sender.
God.
Motherfucker.
I want to go.
I'm glad I got that out.
There you go.
Did you
All right,
notice
we gotta
that?
wrap
Did
this
you
up.
see
We're
what
20
he
minutes
just
late.
did? Did you see what he just did to me?
What? He erased all the good things about you?
Yeah, he really did erase all the good things that we did. But recreated the history to make us a fucking monster. That's all it is. Okay?
All right, no plugs. Let's plug next week.
Okay, bye.